All right, there we go. Going live. Going live. So I can't bring on the beautiful little cat. Let's make sure that the audio is working out just fine. Oof. The audio is working out fine, though it's a wee bit loud. Well, actually, that explains why the audio is a little bit loud, because the audio is loud on my end. Okay, there we go. That makes it. Double checking everything. Okay. Well, hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good day, wherever you are at. I hope that you are doing fantastically. Roblox is down. He's not late. I know. It's a Thanksgiving miracle. Hey there, Fabio, Mimic, Hannah, Roblox. Great to have you all here. Yellow, hello, and Roblox was indeed the first to comment. So, well, for those of you who have been celebrating Thanksgiving, hope that you've by now recovered from the turkey and from whatever family drama there might have been. Uh, not even my family was able to escape so a little bit of family drama yesterday, but honestly, it actually wasn't drama wasn't too bad. To be all honest, the worst scare was that my grandpa took a fall right after dinner, and he's up there in age, but we were able to thankfully help him on up. No broken bones, a scuffed knee, so he's doing okay. A little bit sore. So for tonight, and I'll preface what I'm about to say as far as my goals for tonight go, with that I have been recovering from a cold since that came on last Saturday, and it still has some lingering effects with me. So my goals are to address giving thanks, because there's a lot to be thankful for. I got some great news I want to share with you guys. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the Amazing Digital Circus, because there's been a lot of very interesting information that was dropped in about the last 48-ish hours. And I did not think that we were going to get the newest episode so soon, which now means I also need to kick my butt into gear for a brand new video. So, there's a lot for me to do. So we'll cover Thanksgiving, we'll cover the Amazing Digital Circus, and then for the lesson tonight, I want to talk about some things that you might be able to do, some things I want to see you guys put into practice to improve your dialogue writing. So that is all on the docket for tonight. And maybe I'll also bring up how people, once again, should be watching Dawn to Dawn, because it's freaking amazing. TV count, you really haven't missed anything. ISO, great to have you here. Mojo is here, fantastic. ISO just watched the Amazing Digital Circus trailer, and oh boy, oh yes, we're gonna have some fun talking about that. Fabio, let me say, even if every place goes into such a Christmas rush, Brazil not having Thanksgiving makes Christmas seem to get here even quicker. Really? Huh. Wouldn't have thought of it that way. Mimic says, I'm very glad your grandpa's doing okay. Same here. I'm Omega says, sup? Hey, I'm Omega. Great to have you here. So, again, with my recovering such as it is from a cold, we'll see how long I'm able to go. Maybe I end up rushing a few things. But before we start talking about the Amazing Digital Circus, I want to share with you guys again some good news and some things that I'm thankful for. And I also really want to hear what you guys are thankful for. So, hey, Jan has arrived. What have you missed? You haven't really missed anything other than me talking about what we're going to be covering tonight. We're going to be talking giving thanks, some Thanksgiving stuff, and then we're going to talk about the Amazing Digital Circus, and then writing dialogue. Okay, so when I was a teacher, my last year teaching, I tried to do something that a teacher of mine had done back in high school that I really, really enjoyed. And that was that we made a gratitude chain. So all the students were given slips of paper, and they had to write down one thing that they were grateful for, and it would go onto the chain. And there was a competition between all the classes to see who was the most grateful. And so, of course, everyone's writing down all of the things that they're grateful for. And whenever someone's all like, I don't know what I'm grateful for, I'd be like, yo, you have so much to be grateful for. And if any of you do not write down toilet paper, you don't deserve any toilet paper. You better be grateful for that stuff. So kind of in the spirit of that, though, we're not going to be making gratitude chains, but I do want to hear from you guys in the comments. I want to hear what you are all grateful for in the comments. And I want to share with you guys some of the things that this week, looking back at writing and at where I am personally, like what I'm most grateful for. So I'll start off with one of my big things. I'm grateful, honestly, and this is not just me trying to be gushy, trying to play to you guys, but honestly, I am very grateful for all of you here on this live stream, as well as for everyone who has subscribed to our channel and everyone who bothers watching our videos. It is okay to just simply make whatever you want, dump it on out there into the internet, scream into the void. But as we say, an adventure is more fun with friends. And honestly, it's so much better when I have the opportunity to interact with people in the comments, interact with people here on the live streams. Being a YouTuber is difficult. It really is. It's a ton of fun, but man, it is difficult. And so honestly, I thank you guys for making this adventure worth it, because without you, it really wouldn't be. So that's one of the biggest things I'm grateful for. And I'm also incredibly grateful for my family, because I would not be able to really do YouTube the way that I have been able to do it now for the past few years. And even before that, without support at home, without support from people who are like, hey, you need a break. We're going to hang out. We're going to do other things. We're going on vacation. Because if it were just me, I'd probably end up just working to the point that I burn myself out. And my family has helped me out so much in that regard. So I'm incredibly grateful for my family, and I'm incredibly grateful for my writing group. And I should also extend that to everyone who has joined us over on Discord, because it's been absolutely amazing to talk to so many great people, to receive their feedback, to see what kinds of stories they're writing, because that honestly inspires me. Seeing the amazing stories that our people are coming up with, things that I would never have imagined. And that invigorates me. That makes me so hopeful for the future, hopeful for the future of storytelling. And so I thank everyone who shared their stories with me, and also who has given support to me, who has given advice to me, because that's what's helped me to become a better author, not just simply writing. It's when people say practice makes perfect, it's true. However, you also need to practice correctly, because if you practice the same thing incorrectly all the time, you end up habitualizing something that you shouldn't. And so other people helping to keep me on the straight and narrow, correcting me when I'm wrong, challenging me to do better, and giving me the pointers to do better are the ones who have helped me to become a better author. It doesn't matter for the fact that I've written so many hundreds of thousands of words, millions of words by this point, without getting proper feedback and help. That stuff doesn't matter at all, because it would just reinforce me doing something that I'm not supposed to. So I'm very grateful for family, friends, you guys, my writing group. You guys have helped me out. TV Count says, I'm grateful I'm not dead yet, that I can still draw stories. Hey, grateful for life is an amazing thing. And being grateful to draw stories, also great. Iconic is here. Great to have you here, Iconic. And Hannah patched back in. Great to have you here, Hannah. Rolex says there's so many basic things I'm just going to say, so basic amenities. Along with that, I also like attending the live streams. Then there's my family, who I would not be here without. Amen. Fabio says, Fabio's got dialogue stuff. I will come back around to that. Even without Thanksgiving, you have much more to be grateful for than you think, has been said to me at school various times, and not in a less genuine light. All right. Isa says, I'm grateful that although my writing time has decreased recently, my artistic abilities are improving greatly. From when I started a few months ago, the difference between my work is incredible. Well, that is great to hear. I says, I'm also grateful for all the experiences I've had this year. Murder drones, my art, writing, my sword classes. All of this has helped me as a person. My goals are getting closer, and it is so great. That is awesome to hear. Other things I will say that I'm grateful for. I am very grateful for Dungeons and Dragons. I know I have not updated the Dungeons and Dragons playlist on our channel in a while. I definitely need to make some videos about that, taking experiences from Dungeons and Dragons and transposing them to good writing advice. But Dungeons and Dragons has helped me out so much in terms of coming up with other story ideas, learning from other people as well, and making some new friends and reconnecting with old friends. D&D has brought about a lot of really great things for me. So that's one thing I've definitely been grateful for this year. Roblox Down says, Murder Drones. I almost forgot about the greatest show of all time. We should all be grateful for Murder Drones and for the awesomeness that Liam Vickers gave to us. Murder Drones is honestly one of those stories that should prove to everyone that with some faith, with a lot of work and pluck, and just enough budget to make it work, you can take some really bizarre, interesting stories and transform them into something really, really awesome. What Glitch Productions and Liam did with Murder Drones is phenomenal, and I hope that's something that people will continue to look back at for years to come and point at, saying like, this was a bit of a turning point. Maybe it wasn't the turning point, but it was definitely part of it, because it does represent something so amazing. And actually on that note, one of the things I've been incredibly grateful for is watching how indie animation as a whole has really been doing pretty well recently. So Dungeon Flippers, I'll quickly switch my video right here. Dungeon Flippers episode 2 is fully funded, and that is great news, because this show definitely deserves a second episode. If you haven't watched the pilot already, definitely go check it out. Within the theme of Dungeons and Dragons, this is brilliant. What if there were people out there who were looking after the dungeons that adventurers raid and make sure that they're all picked up and then sold off to the next person who needs them? It's such a great idea for a series, and these characters are just absolutely fun to look at. The voice acting is incredible. The writing is great. So definitely, if you haven't checked out Dungeon Flippers, please give it a try. But this is just another example of how far indie animation is coming, and I'm so grateful to see that. And I'm so grateful to see that even with all of the things that have been happening around the world recently, that entertainment is actually still a place where people can come to escape from that and have real, genuine friendships, great discussions, support each other, and also then come up with their own new stuff. It is incredibly liberating, ennobling, and encouraging to see that. And that's something that I'm just very grateful for. Heisa says, I still need to watch Dungeon Flippers and The Art of Murder. Oh, The Art of Murder is so good. I need to make a video of The Art of Murder. I just don't know when I'm going to get around to that because I'm committed to so many other ideas right now. But The Art of Murder is so good. Oh, it's so good. Roblox is down. Oh, yeah, the second episode definitely looks amazing when I saw the teaser at Glitch X. Oh, yeah. Iconic. And I've been putting off watching The Art of Murder. I've been hearing so much about it. I really, really enjoyed it. It gave me a good laugh. So many brilliant jabs at Disney and Pixar. Also with a wink and a nod to Adventure Time, while also then jabbing what Cartoon Network has done. So I like it, and I definitely want to throw my hat into the ring for who committed the murder of OC, because I think I know who committed the murder, and it's going to be and it's going to make and I think it's going to be a good emotional reveal. So I will save that theory for whenever I get around to doing a video about the art of murder. Sen is here. Great to see you here, Sen. Good evening. Fabio, before some year back, I didn't know how to use my brain in deliberate fun ways, and becoming aware of being able to do that has just been magical, I guess. Well, that's fantastic. That's a great thing to be grateful for. And I should also take my own admonition to heart. I am definitely grateful for toilet paper. I'm grateful for the air conditioning as well. I live in a desert. If there wasn't any air conditioning, I would not be able to sit down and do the work that I do because I would get cooked. And thank you to everyone who's already shared some of the stuff that you guys are grateful for there in the chat. And it's definitely something that I would encourage as far as like just a good healthy exercise is to share, at least with yourself, like write it down the things that you're grateful for. It's like I've already used ennobling and enriching and encouraging in words already. So I will say this is that keeping track of the things that you're grateful for is a way to find happiness when you feel like there isn't any to be had. And going down the route of wanting to be a creative, there's some struggles there. There's the struggle of where a story isn't coming together, or where you feel like your family isn't giving you the support that you wanted. Maybe you got a project off the ground, but then your luck just runs out and it starts falling apart. Or maybe you finish that book, you finish that artwork, and you throw it on out there for the world to see, and then you don't get the engagement that you were hoping. There aren't tons of people lining up to enjoy what you made. That's discouraging. It absolutely is. And reminding yourself of the many things that you do have and that you are grateful for is a great way of again finding that happiness, finding that encouragement, and being happy with what you do. So this isn't just me being like, yay, Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving just happened. No, this is a great exercise in helping you out. Because believe you me, I've had to do this multiple times myself in order to get through a lot of the struggles of being a creative, not just here on YouTube, but also as an author. I'm Omega says a new episode of No Evil came out this week. It definitely has a lot of teases for future episodes. Ooh, fantastic to hear. I'm grateful for my family, friends, animals, cars, cameras, movies, bikers, markers, napkins, scooters, chocolate, murder drones, the Amazing Digital Circus, Camille's harem. Hey, thank you. Lackadaisy, backpacks, mountains, and music. Oh, I'm most definitely thankful for great music and for mountains. I love living around mountains. Probably such a living condition to be thankful for too. I love music. Yes. Sen, I had an awesome day with family yesterday. We did not discuss any politics. Isn't that amazing? When you can go through an entire family get together and not have to discuss politics. It is so great. Dark Stage Dreams. Is that Dungeon Flippers? Yes. Dungeon Flippers doing so well. Great to see that it's going to be getting its second episode. So I can't wait for when that's going to come out. It's going to take a little while, but it will be coming. And I hope that it picks up way more traction and way more support. So that way we can get a whole season of it. And actually, speaking of that, for anyone who's interested in Olin Rogers and his work, he just announced today that things are coming together to get a distributor behind Godspeed and to actually get it some solid funding. So that way he can do a full season, which is awesome. Yeah, I would have loved if the news was, hey, guess what? Olin Rogers here. I'm working with Glitch Productions now. That would have been great. But no, that's not going to happen. I wish. Uh, Dargis Daydream says, I'm thankful for my family, friends, and good food on my table. Amen. Novik says, a way to ruin family gatherings and start unnecessary drama, politics. Yes, this is why the politics that we care about here at Camille's Harem is your fantasy politics. Who cares about the real world politics? People can get annoyed about that all they want. I want to hear about how on earth Sadeas is trying to get rid of all the other high princes so that way he can corner Dalinar and kill him, and what Dalinar is going to do to subvert Sadeas' machinations. That's what I care about. Dark Daydreams, isn't Glitch mostly 3D animation? Yes. Which would take away from Godspeed, because Godspeed is primarily 2D animation, and I love the 2D animation feel. But why not have a studio that can do both 2D and 3D? That would be that's my question. Roblox, he has control of the courts and the Senate. Yes. Actually, I would love to learn more about how Palpatine managed to consolidate all of the Republic's resources and funding and power all to himself during the Clone Wars. Like, that actually sounds really cool, because you can't just simply become a dictator overnight. How did Palpatine do it? Like, I want to see more of that. Hannah, I'm eating right now, but I'm thankful for everything. Ah, yes. Especially thankful for good food. Actually, on that note, I am thankful for good leftovers, because I just happened to have some delicious turkey enchilada soup and turkey tacos. Oh, it was good. All right. So, yeah, be grateful. There's so many things. So again, I'm really grateful for all of you guys, being here, and for all of your support. And the last thing that I will quickly share, as far as what I'm grateful for, and this is kind of my big happy news, is the book that I just published. Woohoo! Roblox, Palpatine, The Art of Playing People. You know what? Palpatine should write a book. It would do a whole lot better than Prince Derek's book, which is How to Offend Women in 5 Syllables or Less. I do want to read the Palpatine's The Art of Playing People. Dorcas says, I haven't had turkey tacos in a while. And it says, yum. I want to know what Palpatine did to the Jedi Temple guards. Weren't they supposed to be extremely powerful? Sir writes a lot is no joke. Yes. Hey, me, Brazilian, and actively wanting to participate here. I mean, these are good things to think about. This immediately rules it out on just being a do it because it's Thanksgiving for me. Well, say it's not just a Thanksgiving time for us, though. Thanksgiving does tend to bring one think about what they are grateful for. But yeah, I know there's plenty of places that don't celebrate Thanksgiving, and I just say, well, we're doing our best to remove the turkey scourge. If the rest of the world wishes to help, they are welcome. All right, so let me quickly share my screen here for a moment. All right. Oop, nope, not that one. Not no. Say we're going to say almost clicked on the wrong screen. That would have taken us to someplace else completely different. Why does sharing the screen always have to be so difficult? Because it is. All right. Infinite loop incoming. All right. So here's the book that I just published. Woohoo! A Study in Blood. This is my attempt at writing a murder mystery, complete with my usual flair of magic and big world stuff. The one thing, though, I will say is this. This is not a book for anyone under 18. So for everyone who's just a teenager, sorry, I am not going to encourage you or condone you getting this book, because this is meant for a more mature audience, especially the ending stuff. But I enjoyed having the chance to write this book, because it definitely took me out of my comfort zone in so many ways. And if you do end up picking up a copy, and if you read it through to the very end in the afterword, I detail some of those difficulties because, yeah, this was not a story I had intended to write. I ended up falling in love with the idea, ended up writing it, and it definitely made me come around to confronting some themes that I had said I would never talk about in my own writing. And I ended up doing that. And it was a very interesting journey to go on. Now then, I'll stop sharing right there. Ooh. Come on back to me. Oh, plugging your book, eh? Oh, yes, I'm going to be plugging my book. Right. So, Senas, is it set in the same universe? Sen, to answer that question, because there are some things that I do not want to give away. I mean, that already kind of gives some stuff away. But for those who are interested, it does take place in the same universe as Bleed, Steam, and Steel and as the Monarch Mercenaries. However, these characters will not, at least as of I have it planned right now, will not cross paths with either Asuka, Zemon, or anyone from Bleed, Steam, and Steel, nor will they cross paths with the Monarch Mercenaries. However, some of the events that are playing out on the periphery, and I definitely use that word intentionally, the periphery, do tie into some of the things that are happening in much grander scale that is hinted at in the Monarch Mercenaries, and stuff that I will get to in later books. So in terms of anyone trying to put together a timeline, it's all wibbly wobbly, timey wiminess. Until more books come out in the future, I am not going to say where anything exactly lands in the timeline. Other than that, if you read Knights of Halley Cruise, that is the beginning. That is the beginning of all of the official published books that I've made. So there you have it. Again, I am not going to recommend this for teenagers. Most of my stories are meant to be read by general audiences and are usually geared towards teens and young adults. This book is not. All right. So let's see here. Yeah. One last thing to say as far as like plugging my own work goes. And what I'm grateful for is that I am grateful that I've had the chance to, in the past 4 years, 4 years and 10 days, if I'm going to be totally accurate, I've had the chance to publish 10 books. And that is something that I know is not very open to a lot of other creators. And so this isn't me just simply saying like, look how awesome I am, but to just help to emphasize, like, I would not have the opportunity to do these many books without you guys, without my family helping me, and without my friends in my writing circle helping me out. Because trying to do just 10 books on your own in order to toot your own horn and say, look how awesome I am, and not use AI to cheat and get ahead, is really difficult. A lot of sleepless nights and lots of disappointment. So it's difficult. Wow, you've been counting. Yes, of course I've been counting. 10. Any book that you manage to publish is a big deal. It really is. And being able to publish 10 is something that I dreamed about getting to this point, and I've got so many more stories I want to tell. But there was a time where I was like, I don't even think I'll ever get to there. But here I am, and it's been a great journey. All right. And let's see here. Fabio says, my comfort zone. I need to keep that term in mind because various things I seem to consistently do, I worry about doing it too much. I don't want, another character in this one Fabio trope, and this one, and this one's, and that one again. I mean, yeah, there's times where you want to break out of your own comfort zone as a writer and get a little bit more creative. But it's fine to do some of the things that you yourself are comfortable with. So, like for instance, with the books that I've published, with Knights of Halley Cruise, The Dark Rebellion, The Marauding Empire, Tumble Teller, Bleed Steam and Steel, and The Monarch Mercenaries, those were all books that I really wanted to write, and were stories that definitely delve into things that I find really enjoyable to do. Lots of action sequences, maybe questionable dialogue, which we'll get eventually to talking how to make better dialogue, as well as just doing big worlds, big what ifs, and exploring that. Doing stuff like Puss in Boots and the Dark Riddles, Notice Me, Send Pie, A Study in Blood, are definitely more. And also, I should also throw in there the Sandwich Desperados. Those are definitely not my usual go-tos for stories, where either I am doing a murder mystery, doing a rom-com, or doing a spoof. Those are not things that are exactly within my wheelhouse, but were fun to experiment with and try to do. So it's okay to write your own stories and have it the way that you want it to be, but it's also really great to sometimes get out of that comfort zone and do something new, just to try it out, just to see what you can do. Art says, props to you, man. 10 books. Mimic, Mr. Lars, we're grateful for you too. Well, thank you. Says tropes are okay to explore. It's only when it becomes cliche, when the audience can easily predict what will happen. Yeah. And sometimes it's okay to have some of those predictable tropes, while you might then use that to kind of blindside someone for what you actually really intend to do, or for something else that you're really fun that you're cooking up. Again, being a writer is like being a chef. You come up with the things that are going to be fun, engaging. You're going to take spices and ingredients that people already know, like chicken. So many people have had chicken. People know what chicken is. Chicken is chicken. But there's so many amazing things that you can do with chicken. And that is what a chef is supposed to do, and that's what a writer is supposed to do with tropes. There are certain tropes that everyone knows. It's like chicken. But you take that chicken, you do something interesting with it, then that chicken suddenly becomes really awesome. Fabi says, how many bored people does my brain got to make? Or will it ever be satisfied? Do I need a bored character of every fictional species ever? I don't know, man. That's up to you to find out. It does surprise me every time I go into more tragic stories I want to have. All my other stuff tends to be more about fun, heroic fun, maybe. Well, that's fine. Again, it's all about writing what you want to write. And if you write the story well, I mean, you're not going to please everyone, but it's very possible to write a story that's good enough that people who might not even necessarily be predisposed towards your epic fun or your tragedies or your comedies might just say, I'm willing to give this a try. And that's where you know that you've done a good job. The Amazing Digital Circus and Murder Drones, for instance, have very specific audiences that they're tailoring to, and yet they've done so well because they managed to be appealing through their quality and through the storytelling and through good characters. That they've been able to branch out and appeal to more people. Hannah says, I'm so guilty when it comes to writing. I was supposed to reach 5,000 words before the end of the month, but that is impossible. Well, Hannah, nothing is impossible. Just talk to Kim Possible right on over here. But don't stress yourself out. If you fail with one goal, make yourself a new goal and continue to go at it again. Congratulations on finally publishing your 10th book. Thank you so much. Arts, if someone asked you to write a treatment for Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money, would you do it? I would do it. And I would do my absolute best to make it amazing, just to prove that it is possible to make great sequels, as opposed to what the Star Wars sequel trilogy would teach us. And I would make the entire Search for More Money be just the greatest, spoofiest take of the sequel trilogy of all time. And there's so many things I would do with it. Oh my gosh, that'd be so much fun to do. Darkest Daydreams, chicken! Arts, it's important to write what you know and expand from there however you can. Yes. And that's one of the great things about writing, is that if you take writing seriously, then there's so much that you end up learning. When I was writing The Monarch Mercenaries, like, I had to pull on from knowledge of astronomical physics. I had to pull on knowledge of gems, and like one of the coolest things was to look up what's the world's largest diamond. It's not as big as you think, and yet, according to science, it is very possible to find a diamond the size of a watermelon. Has it ever been found? No. Will it ever be found? Possibly. And so I was justified in creating a box that's completely made out of a single diamond. Could I just done a hand wave and say, yes, magic and whatnot? Yes, I could. But it was really fun to actually go into the science and say, this thing that I've just made in a universe of impossibilities, this is actually possible. Ruins, in the name of all that is evil, I'm here to say the cursed word for writers, AI. Art says, using AI for anything other than the spell check. I mean, we all use spell check, and thank goodness for that. And I need to pay attention to it a little bit more often. It would save me a lot of pain in my editing. But yeah, oh boy, AI. There's a lot to be said about with how AI is currently evolving and everything. For instance, using AI to speed up the movements, for instance, of characters like on the Amazing Digital Circus is something that I don't mind people doing, because it's something that helps to process the animation faster. However, when you're using AI to write your stories, or you're using AI to generate your story ideas, that's when you are going too far, in my opinion, as a writer. AI can be there to use, again, for spell checking, or to give you hints on some things to improve, but it is always better to have the human go through the story. It's always better for the human to write the story, because writing a story is discovery, and AI cannot discover. It can only regurgitate what someone else has already discovered. So that is my brief take right here for AI, the dreaded word. Sen says, as long as the art is original when animating and like making a character blink at intervals, I'm okay with. Yeah, exactly. I'm okay with that. To speed up the process. But I want to have a human in charge of the writing the script. I want to have a human in charge of the storyboard. I want to have humans in charge of drawing up these characters. I want to have humans in charge of actually animating, doing the real animation of these characters and filling in the world. I want humans to do that, because a computer will never know how to fully develop a world or a character, or the motions of those characters, or those words of those characters, as well as a human can. Because it's not even artificial intelligence, it's simulated intelligence. And it's sad simulated intelligence at that. Or just to cheat on tests. I'm fine with you. Ruben says, I'm fine using AI to make images for a story you wrote, but I'm against using it to create scripts, or just use to cheat on tests. TV account. I've been reading Scott Pilgrim comics. They sort of have at least understand why they want a one-to-one adaptation, but at the same time, I don't. Okay, I see what you're saying right there. So yes, oh my gosh, talking about the adaptation of the Scott Pilgrim series. Yeah, there. I understand why people want a one-to-one adaptation. I also understand why other people point at it and say that would be bad because Scott. Which is part of the reason why we got the Scott Pilgrim series that we did on Netflix. It was the creator basically saying like, yeah, I know I kind of did some dumb things with my original series, so how about a redo? Maybe guys, now just wondering, was this your very last book you'll ever publish? I know you once said that you're working on the very last and final book. So, Mimic, no, this is definitely not A Study in Blood is definitely not the last book that I intend to publish. I have right now in the works the last 3 books in the Legend of the Ten Lords series. The 4th book should be published if I can manage it. Should be published next year. I'm going to be working on a retelling of the King's Snake that I want to publish next year as well. I have started the next book for Bleed Semen Steel. Haven't gotten very far into it. Kind of checked out because I lost energy and motivation for it. And based on everyone's feedback from last week's live stream, people say they really want to see my retelling of Beauty and the Beast. So I got to get working on that. Art says, that last Deltarune fanfic I wrote, I found myself using the word shake quite a lot. Thankfully, I went back and varied it up a bit. Bad habit to use the same word in my descriptions. Yeah, and sometimes, though, like, it's nice to have, like, that word that you can come back to. But yeah, using shake, 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 Sonora, shake the body line. Unless you're doing that song, maybe shake up the words a little bit. Or tremble them, quake them, distribute them. But do not do this. Do not open up the thesaurus and just pick a random word that happens to correlate with the word that you want to use. Make sure that you're actually finding the right word for the right situation. Otherwise, it can lead to some really embarrassing moments. As I shared with some friends of mine, it's like, yes, one time I wrote an entire story. Instead of writing lichen, writing lichen the entire time. And yes, one is a moss and the other one is a wolf person. Sen says, as long as the art is original when animating, okay, I already read that. And humans as voice actors. Omer. Yes, indeed. Fabio says, I just try to have fun with character AI using the persona feature to be my characters, test them out, being them to put them in whatever scenarios I randomly find in that website. Some of them may even fit what I actually want them to do, but that's not the final product for sure. None of them far from it. All right. Sen says, totally okay to use the same verbs over and over in first drafts. Amen. Because it's the first draft, you're allowed to make as many mistakes as you want and need in the first draft. Yeah, don't use the word ejaculate when you mean blurts out what they say. Yes, you can use the word exclaimed. That'll work just as well. And it also begins with E. Some words have multiple different meanings too. For example, there's the word gay and the word gay. Take your pick. Yes. And I mean, this might get me demonetized here on this video, but whatever. There's also, for anyone who decides to go back and read the original Lord of the Rings from Tolkien, if you come across the word faggot, what it means back in the day was piece of wood or bundle of wood. So definitely want to be careful of what kinds of words you're using, because even if you want to say, "Oh, I'm using the old term," that might be a word that other people will say is verboten. So be careful with your word selection. Which basically means take history into mind. Some things do not apply anymore at all in this time. Yes, exactly. Robots ejaculate their thoughts doesn't seem quite right. No, it does not. And I feel slightly cursed and dirty for reading that. All right. So that being said, there's no way to fully idiot proof things. No, there isn't. And you'll always it. I remember when writing Knights of Halley Cruise and the Dark Rebellion, I was all like, no one will ever be able to ship Jessica and Gary after I'm through with this book. Oh, naive, ignorant me. Foolish me. Oh, people will ship whatever they want to ship. And some of the things where I was like, no one should ever ship these characters. I have no control over that. There will be people who will ship couples, pairings from my stories that I'll just be like, yeah, nope, no. All right. So, with that all being said, let's actually, you have to ignore shippers. Yes, you do. As the creator, you can tell people, do what you want, but I'm doing the canon stuff. And I'm moving on ahead with what I got to do. If I say that these characters are going to get together, these characters are going to get together because that's what the story needs. That's what the characters need. And if characters don't end up in a relationship, that's because I, as the author, felt that the best way forward for the entire story was to not have them be in a relationship, which was very liberating when writing the book Monarch Mercenaries, because there was a massive temptation to make two characters get together. And I was like, no. And I'm not going to spoil some of the big reasons as to why that is, but it was nice being able to write a space adventure pirate story that did not end with characters being like, now let's fly off into the sun smooching. I mean, if you want to write a story like that, go on ahead, but it was fun to, again, just be able to write a far more adventure-focused story and not have to worry about the romance aspect. People are going to be weird about it. It just depends on what words. Choose your words carefully. Let's see here. So let me then begin switching gears on over to the Amazing Digital Circus, because I feel like when talking about dystopian, unnerving, shipping, all that good jazz, all of that takes us exactly into some of the reveals that we've gotten for the upcoming episode, as well as potentially for the entire series. If anyone was willing to expand and read the newspaper that was shown as a teaser image a couple days ago. So I've actually been thanked for not shipping some of my characters in my first novel. Yes, isn't it great? Isn't it great when you don't have to worry so much about the romance all the time? That is an AI generated McDonald's. Yes, it is. It absolutely is. And doesn't break copyright either, because as we know from the pilot, they have to try to make sure not to break copyright. ISO, speaking of, I decided that Lynn and Hunter wouldn't actually get together until season 3 of Fable of the Hunter. I had 2 separate plans that I combined into one, and now I like the flow of things. Excellent. You got it, ISO. On that note, when it comes to the romance between characters, romance is one of those things that you could so easily end up having blow up in your face. And I think it's because, for one thing, people are always very touchy on the subject of romance, and not touchy in the I'm offended kind of way, but that when people are told they're going to get a romantic subplot or a romantic main plot, people are like, okay, then I need to be very invested in these characters. And now that I'm invested, I want the best thing to happen for them. Why did you not do what I thought was the best thing for them? And people get really upset that way. And so sometimes it works a whole lot better to hold off on some of the romance and instead build up these characters, get us to like who these characters are, and then build up the potential romance between them. And then it ends up working, in my opinion, a whole lot better. Now, again, romance, like any trope, always depends on what kind of story you're telling and exactly what you wish to do. For one story that I have in mind, I already know who the main couple is. I know how they're going to get together. I have that scene firmly established in my mind. And some of the big stuff to get there. And yet, as I was coming up with the story, I was like, okay, then. They are not going to get together anytime soon. Because they shouldn't. They've got a lot of growing up to do. And on top of that, this is going to be one of those experiences of mine of like, okay, I kind of want to do enemies to lovers between these two characters. And if I'm going to do that route, I cannot just simply take the easy route. That's going to be fun stuff. Instead, rather than building up the potential romance, I got to build up the antagonism between them. And that ends up making it a whole lot more fun. Then, yay, having people grow up first before getting together as a couple. Yes, that's what we like to see. Arts, I've never shipped any couple before Cruzy. I mean, shipping is fine of itself, but some people take it too far. Yes, I agree. Some people take it way too far. Jay Nees is the ninth person to like the stream. Well, congratulations, Jay Nees. Fabi says, McDonald's, I clearly see a Spud Day right here, sir. Oh, yes, we're going to talk about Spud Day here in just a second. Let me quickly catch up with what Fabio posted up here earlier, and then we will start jumping into the Amazing Digital Circus. And now, man, I'm kind of curious on what ships there are going to be. Maybe when I get to it, I should be more specific on my two god-adjacent dudes being brother-like. At least reduce the ships to only people into incest stuff. Am I right? Ugh, what are you talking about, man? One can dream about the fame, but you're never ready for it if it does indeed arrive. Don't worry about it until it's there, but it can be fun to think about for someone like me. Yes, it's fun to think about how people are going to react to the stories that we present. You never know how people are going to react. And again, you have no control over what shippers want and what they don't want. Focus on your own stories, make them the best they can be, and just don't worry about it. The Bond's name, James' name, Bond's nod, having a strong, gave a postulates. Awesome. All right. So, for those of you who haven't yet seen it, I'm going to play the little teaser that we got today for the upcoming episode. And here we go.
In this instructional video, you'll learn all about the ins and outs of what's going to happen in the next brand new digital circus.
That's right, team! We're working at a fast food place today.
Good head
So
pads.
roll up your sleeves and wash your hands, because we got burgers to make.
Why are you talking like that? What's wrong with you?
Looks like somebody doesn't have their smile on. Why don't you go into the freezer and get some patties ready?
The freezer.
Yeah, it was freezing in there.
What were you... What's going on?
Find out in the brand new episode coming at you soon.
Oh boy. Okay then. I already have to say this. I love that we've addressed the freezer where Pomni and the cool voiceover guy from the last episode got banished to. And so they've been released from the freezer. Hooray! The story has come
nobody
full
was
circle.
teleported anywhere ever again, and there was everlasting peace.
There was everlasting peace. I wish. It ain't going to happen. Arts, yes, I also always adore these little episode teasers, and I love their merchandising commercials as well. They go all out for those. Isis says, I think Gummy Goo is going to be a customer. I think he might be a customer as well, or at least we get the voice of Gummy Goo back. And I'm looking forward to that. I love how Jax sounds so anxious. Yes, Jax is not having a good time. No one's having a good time in this. Neither is Gangle. To answer Dorcas's question, Gangle is not okay in this at all. And I have a bunch of stills that I want us to kind of go through to try to piece together what might actually be going on here in this upcoming episode, because I think this episode is going to be way more intense than it has any right to be. And we'll start getting to why that is. Then he says, I can just imagine Jax having to deal with an arrogant Karen at his job, and he gets annoyed and pissed off, maybe even quits on the spot. If he would be allowed to quit, he's definitely not going to be allowed to quit, no matter what happens. Also, if a little sound off there in the chat, how many people have actually worked fast food before, or the restaurant life, either as a restaurant or fast food? Because I have. I've only done it once, and I'll probably try to never go back and do it again, because it was an amazing experience. And try figuring that. It was amazing. And the thing is, I never wanted to run fast food again, because there's no way that it could ever be as good as it was when I worked for Jimmy John's. Because I worked with guys who had been sent by the CEO himself to open up that location. So it was a bunch of friends who were all very business savvy, very positive, and they only looked for like the most positive and energetic people. And it was such an incredible group to work with. It was so much fun. And I was like, I will never be able to top this or even match it working anywhere else in fast food. And so I don't want to go back. Zen says, nope. I saw him intentionally avoiding it. Arts, my brother worked at Wendy's for a year. He didn't enjoy it. I know that much. Yeah. Fast food usually breaks people. And I recently went back to that to that location for Jimmy John's. All of the original guys have moved on to other stores or have quit the company by now. And that location has some of, like, I can't say the worst people, because I've definitely seen far worse, but the quality level has plummeted. And I'm like, oh man, this is depressing. Because I remember when this place was lively and upbeat, and people looked really nice rather than wearing shirts with a bunch of holes. Like, if you're going to make my sandwich for me, please do not have gaping holes in your shirts and jeans as you are sweatily preparing my sandwich. Ugh. Sen says, my fan theory is that Lars won the lottery and that's why he doesn't have to work now. I wish. 1000 Dumpling says, I think it's going to get revealed that Gangle is straight up evil. There is a dark side to Gangle that's going to get unleashed. And I'm so excited for that. Hopefully the ice cream machine at the McDonald's in this episode of the Amazing Digital Circus will actually work. Yes. Thank you. Why does McDonald's never get their machines fixed? It can't be that hard. Please do at least a little bit of due diligence to try to be like In-N-Out Burger. At least at In-N-Out Burger, if their machine breaks, which one time I pulled up when their machine had broken, and so one of the workers came out of the window with a big smile on his face, and he's all like, I'm so sorry, man. You're not going to be able to get your strawberry shake because the machine broke down. So what we've done is we've taken all the strawberry that we could, and we mixed it together with the vanilla, and now we're calling it the Where's Waldo shake. And I was like, amen to that. Like your presentation, your big, beautiful smile. I don't care if I'm not getting a strawberry shake. I'll take your Where's Waldo shake. Thank you very much. You're amazing. Come on, McDonald's. Try harder. I know you can do it, but you continue to disappoint me. Fabi says, I watched this some minutes before the stream, and it made me think back to a thought of mine about Gangle. What if some episode has her tragedy mask fall off? Oh, and so we're going to talk about that. We are going to talk about that tonight, because after breaking this down, kind of mainframe by mainframe, there are some interesting things going on. The TV count. Maybe if you mute and slow down footage, it might show something. TV count. I'm going to be showing you a bunch of stills that I've taken from this right here, which then you can go and look for more detail on your own. I've worked in retail before, but not in fast food, unfortunately. Or maybe fortunately. I've worked in both retail and fast food. I don't want to return to either, personally speaking. 1,000 dumplings, put the fries in the bag, you skippity sigma. Fabio, some episode having that could be interesting. Arts, why did Wendy's change their fries? Why I asked, the original recipe was fine. I don't know. Money involved. Who knows? Who knows why they do horrible things like that? So I heard that McDonald's buys the machines from a company and they don't have the right to repair it or something. That's weird. That's weird. And that's a bad idea, too. Sen, Food Theory had a whole video about how the shareholders that own the contracted ice cream repair shop also own stock in McDonald's. Then wouldn't they want to make sure that the ice cream machines are doing well? Unless it's a plant to bring down McDonald's. Oh boy. Yeah, that fast food is a yep. Beep. TV count. Also, my brother was traumatized when he worked for Jollibee. It was sad hearing him almost cry about his legs. It's sad. Ooh, yeah. No, there are some places to work at that is just hellish. Also, I think Gangle seems like the type of person who breaks her glasses or something. I can see that. And again, we're going to get more into this. Manufacturers sabotaging their own machines. I know, and why? What is it? Are they trying to destroy McDonald's from within? Have they hated Ronald McDonald ever since childhood? I don't know. Like, honestly, though, it's very nice to see Gangle very happy and laughing this time around. I'm proud of her. Yeah, but I'm not exactly sure if that's really a good thing, and we're going to get to that. And I want Gangle to be happy, but the way that she's being happy is not good. Sen, they make more money on repair jobs than the ice cream machine working. Okay, yeah, that's true. And actually, that does make more sense because each installation of McDonald's is owned by a person who owns that particular site or owns the right to run it, while McDonald's owns the land that the site is on and then reaps the profits of the people working there on that land. It's really shady. The playground at Disneyland at McDonald's was my Disneyland as a kid. Thank you very much. You know what? That's the thing. Old McDonald's was fun. I remember as a kid going to McDonald's and having an absolute great time. And it definitely had a better place than Burger King. However, when I got into high school and Pizza Face came and attacked me and I had to do something for acne, the medication that I was given to help me get my acne under control messed around with my digestive system to the point where I can't eat a whole lot of fast food because of the kinds of oils they use. So I have not been able to actually eat McDonald's without getting sick for, now we're coming up on almost 20 years. But weirdly enough, In-N-Out Burger is one of the few places I can go where I don't get sick. But that's another story. Fabio, I'm just worried about it ever going to the worst side of comedy, feeling happy, whatever. The main thing I thought of in my what if has been mania. TV account, maybe it'll be an allegory of mental health and toxic positivity. TV account, I think you're on to the right path. I really think you are. Hannah says, good Lord. Arts 1984. Do you remember when Pizza Hut used to have arcade games? Mine had Altered Beast. I remember back when more places had arcade games. What a beautiful time that was. Saying, don't you love inching closer to middle age, Lars? I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, sure, I might be 35, but I'm feeling young. Pizza Hut had arcade games. Yeah, back in the day, there were a lot of places that had arcade games. Pizza Hut that I went that was closest to me didn't have arcade games, but there were all different kinds of restaurants that had them, and now they don't have them anymore. And that sucks. Now Pizza Huts don't even have a house in dining anymore. I know! It's dumb! It's dumb! So, speaking of the dumb things, so here we come around. Whoop. So, all right. So we are obviously getting a spoof of McDonald's uh, here with this, and this is a very interesting shakeup because Kane, for the past 3 episodes, has made all of the adventures that we've had the chance to see true adventures. Gather the Gloinks was to hunt down the Gloinks and discover the Gloink Queen and put an end to her machinations. Also, it was to help save Zubul because they let Zubul get carried off. Then for Candy Carrier Chaos, get back the maple syrup, which ended up going really haywire bonkers because they botched their attempt to pull a Mad Max and board Gummy Goo's truck. And then for Mildenhall Manor, excuse me, guys, gotta take a drink. Take a drink and blow my nose. Sorry about that. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, still trying to get over a cold. It's better. It's better than it was 2 days ago, but whew, it's still there. So sorry about that. All right. So Mildenhall Manor actually had 2 adventures that when you start bringing it together, you realize that Kane actually came up with a really awesome adventure for people to go on. You have the more kiddie one, which was to gather the ghosts and end up by choosing to do the pacifist route. You end up then befriending the wife of Lord Mildenhall and learning her story, her side of the story. If you go the really dark route, you then go and uncover what really happened from Lord Mildenhall and how he went completely deranged because he shot an angel. Yay. Oh boy. So you actually get some really interesting adventures from Kane. And if my theory ends up being correct, that all of the adventures that Kane is giving are hints at what's actually happening with the digital circus itself, that they're clues about the nature behind the circus, why they've been imprisoned. If my theory is correct, then we got a whole lot of good stuff. And this episode right here, being about wasting away your time in this dead end job, this could actually be a hint and a wink at the truth behind who's running the Amazing Digital Circus. And I'll quickly kind of move away a little bit from just what we see here in this image to, if you went and you looked at the newspaper that was the teaser image for this upcoming episode, and you blow it up and you read the really boring newspaper stuff, you find some really interesting clues and details. It all takes place in Canada. Everything is in Canada. So now if it's true, if my theory is correct, that means that everyone who's right now stuck in the Amazing Digital Circus is in Canada. They're Canadians. And that they are all part of a recent project. In the newspaper, it talks about how there is a lot of money coming to this new town and how they are going to be building new facilities and hiring all of these people. And they have these great ideas. And there's no indication whatsoever of what these ideas are until the very end of one of the newspaper columns, where it says that they're focusing on energy. Now, we know that what's helped to inspire the Amazing Digital Circus are shows and stories from the 90s. I mean, of course, we have I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. What if, though, and you begin combining various elements and the likes, what other great machine story comes out of the 90s with energy and people being stuck in VR? The Matrix. Now, that might seem like a little bit of a jump, and that could very easily be a bad jump and a bad conclusion on my part, but I think that there's a very good chance that if we're actually being given real clues as to what's going on, I don't think that someone is trying to recreate the Matrix with the Amazing Digital Circus. That's too much of a ripoff for Gooseworks, and Gooseworks is very clearly doing something different. But what if the premise, maybe that's not exactly what's actually happening behind the scenes, but what if the premise for the creation of the Amazing Digital Circus was to basically pull off what the Matrix does, harness people's energy through their brains, through harnessing the power of the human body. Now then, is that actually what's happening? I don't think so, but I could easily see that as being the premise that is being manipulated to get people to work on this project and to get people to plug themselves in and then get stuck in the Amazing Digital Circus. I think that there's more happening than just that. I think that that's, again, the premise and not really what's happening. But I want to see. I want to see if I'm correct. I could be absolutely wildly wrong. As Seven says right here, this feels more like Sword Art Online. It definitely has a very Sword Art Online flavor to it, especially in the pilot, where they can feel the headgear and they know that they are stuck in a game, as opposed to the Matrix, where the idea behind the Matrix is that you don't know that you're stuck in a simulated reality being taken advantage of. So it's an interesting idea. Again, I could be absolutely wildly off, but I'm going to throw that theory on out there because I thought that was really interesting to read that. I saw, yes, the Canadian desert from episode 2, very popular place. Oh, it absolutely is. Fabio, wait, keeping up face in front of customers, feigning happiness, being expected to keep cheer while in the circus, an entire situation becoming tediously mundane, something of that sort. Oh yeah, no, Fabio, I think that you've made a good connection right there. Lars says, that's okay, Lars, your health comes first. Well, thank you. Mimic says, and Kinger is a sweetheart that must be loved and protected. Amen. Also, the vibe of the Amazing Digital Circus trailer really reminds me of all those old vintage McDonald's commercials from like the 90s and 80s and such. I'm loving it. You know what? I should try to pull out some of the old 80s commercials that I grew up on, thanks to recordings, where I got to see some of the old like Christmas McDonald's commercials. There's something else, and absolutely, this trailer perfectly captured that feel. You are absolutely right, Mimic. I'm Omega. Did you know that the Matrix was originally going to be people used for computation rather than living batteries? The reason why they changed it was because the execs didn't understand it. I'm Omega. I can believe that. One of the reasons why the Matrix, for instance, was rated R was not just because of the language or because of the violence, but one of the top reason when it was released, why it was rated R, was because the idea was in the minds of Hollywood and the executives so mind melting that they thought no one could watch this who wasn't an older adult. And that is the reason. That was the first reason why they made it rated R. So I can understand if execs are like, I don't understand what's going on here, because they didn't even understand. They didn't even understand or fully comprehend or appreciate the version that was released to us. Mimic Canada, that explains why this series is so good. And the characters, aside from Jax, are for the most part really kind. Go Canada. Did you see the horror show of the Coco AI commercial this year? No, I have not. Oh, the Coca. Sorry, I read that's Coca-Cola AI commercial this year. I need to see this. I've not checked this out. Oh, that sounds like fun. That does sound like a horror show. I've heard the story about the Matrix too. Yeah, I've heard that. Or I've heard that story about the Matrix too. And again, I totally can believe that. I can absolutely believe that. And also, Switch was supposed to be switch genders inside outside the Matrix, but the execs squashed that too. Really? Wow. Executives always making interesting decisions that fly in the face of true creativity. Fabio, maybe Kane wants some sneak peek into how everyone would act if they felt that the circus had become tediously mundane, despite all he gives them, though the trailer announcer wasn't mainly Kane. And here's the thing, is that I honestly do feel like this right here is Kane trying to give them something that he feels they would like, and obviously messing up. Gooseworks herself said that Kane is trying to help out the players, but he's just very bad at his job. He does not know how to properly empathize with humans. He doesn't fully understand them, and as a result, he does things that they don't like. And so, let me just pop on to the very end of this right here. So here we have Kane with the suggestions box that you see later on in the trailer. And I think it is that people, like, because of his conversation with Zubul, where he's like, what can I do to make the adventures more interesting to you? He's like, I need to know. And because Kane can't fully empathize, I think that he decided instead that it would be a good idea to do the suggestions box. That the suggestions box would give him the answers that he needed directly from the players in order to make an adventure that they would like. And I think that based on what he read from these suggestions and what he knows, where they're like, hey, we just want to have like a normal day or whatnot. He's like, hey, a normal day would be like working at this dead-end job. Okay, if that's what they really want, then boom, here's your dead-end job. They then get thrown into. I think that that's what's happened. Also, I really like the angry look that he's got here as he's about to do the whole zipped lips, which he does at the very end of the trailer. But I think that's one of the reasons why we actually have the adventure that we do, which then ties into what I think happens with Gangle, because I think that Gangle's having her own I think that her existential crisis really begins to manifest itself in a crazy, unexpected way in this episode. So here we got Jax. He's going to be working at the takeout window, and I think that I'd love to know exactly where this hand comes from. I don't know if this is Kane, since we haven't actually seen Kane yet enter into one of the adventures to help moderate or to explain. He just throws them on in, and then they have to learn as they go. So there's a part of me that almost wants to know, what if like this hand might actually come from Gangle? Let's actually, for a quick moment right here, let's pop back on over to here. And watch this. Let's see if we can see that the hand is connected to something or not. Okay, so the hand was unconnected. There's Gangle's hand. Okay, so where does this hand come from? I don't know. Maybe this is Camille, and this is your job, Jax. Aha! You get to interact with people. It'll be fun. It'll be great. Fabio got reminded of Deltarune Queen saying, like humans must love traffic. They search it up all the time. Yes. When a computer doesn't understand how humans think, it just goes off of what they look up. Oh boy, you are not getting a proper representation of what humanity is like. At least I hope not. Please let that not be the way that humans actually are. Then it says, yeah, Mr. Kane tries to give them a sense of normalcy, especially since everything has been so crazy and mind-boggling. But obviously he fails because he's, well, Kane. Yeah, Kane is Kane, and Kane, just as we saw in the last episode, does not understand. And he's trying, and as Goosework says, he's not really a villain. He's just a very, very bad helper with a lot of godlike powers. So here's Jax. I love this look of just defeat and confusion, all in his eyes. That's well animated. So then here we got Gangle turning on the ovens for frying stuff up from good old Heat Co. Incorporated. Power, not really much to see here. Yeah, Cain is Cain, and he killed his own brother. We'll see if we get any more about the Cain and Abel theory in this episode. Now then, here's an interesting little shot, because here you got Ragatha playing around with a baseball, and Gangle is very obviously still wearing her tragedy mask as she's speaking with Ragatha. We don't know what their conversation is about, and I think that this is very likely going to be something like what we got in the last episode, where we're going to have another glimpse into the normal life of the people within the digital circus. And I really feel, based off of what we've gotten in terms of footage in this trailer, that we're going to focus way more on Gangle this episode than maybe even on Pomni. I think that this might be a case where, while Pomni is the main character of the show, that Pomni might actually end up taking a little bit more of a back seat to whatever Gangle is going to go through. And I'm interested in seeing how this will play out. This could actually be something towards the end of the episode, because of one of the stills I'll show you guys later, where we're going to see Gangle wake up, and she's waking up with a new mask on. She's like, wait, what? What is this? Fabio Kane, if you add extra letter to biblical names, ably. Yeah, Abley's very able. Very capable. All right, so here we have a look. Here we get our first look in the trailer of Gangle's interesting mask. So we've got a little pink swirl on one cheek. We've got a star on the other cheek. Then we've got one big regular eye, and then we got one of her usual dark eyes, which now has a pupil in it. So there's now way more expressiveness to Gangle than we've ever seen before. And Gangle is dressed up as the manager. Yes, Jax wrote, "I don't care" in his name tag. That is great. So who are you? I don't care. I don't care what you want. I'm just stuck here. Dang it. And the pose that Zubal's got right here is just like the we gotta work, eh? Oh, Gangle. Spampton, pink and yellow, but blush. I see that. I can see that. Now then, one of the things that I think is going to be interesting in this episode, and I am going to say that this might actually be something that will tick some people off, is that Gangle is probably not going to use her position as manager in this game to abuse Jax, at least not initially. And one of the reasons why I say that this is going to bug people is because there's a lot of people who really don't like Jax, who want Jax to get his comeuppance, and are going to be really upset that Gangle doesn't immediately begin to abuse her power to make Jax's life an absolute living hell. And if I'm correct in my assumption that that's going to be the case, that really says a lot about who Gangle is. That Gangle is someone who isn't a jerk like Jax, and is trying to figure out her own life, her own problems, and put on the happiest face possible, which of course is probably her existential crisis, that she doesn't feel happy. She's trying to project happiness, but inside, that's not who she is. And I feel like that's going to be the real emotional sucker punch by the end of this episode. Just like how with Kinger, we got how Kinger is a broken man, but in the depths of his insanity, there's a rhyme and a reason to his madness, that he enjoys the darkness because it allows him to have that memory that connects him to his wife. It's a memory that allows him to rediscover himself. And in the darkness, he can remind himself of who he actually is. And so that was a great revelation right there. And I think that we're not going to get something on the same level, obviously, because that's Kinger, but on a new level for Gangle. I think this is where we're going to finally figure out what really her own crisis is and how the masks play into that. And so a lot of fan theories are about to get crushed or confirmed in this episode. Fabio, she might actually make Jax's life hell without knowing. She just wants to be a good manager, I think. I don't think she'll make that hell. I can see a case for it. Yeah, we'll see. Also, Gangle looks so charming as manager, says Mimic. Yes. No, Gangle pulls it off. Wow, seeing Jackson in McDonald's worker outfit is really making me feel some type of way. It's making me. It's reminding me of all the times that I've ever gone to a store to get something, and then I see one of my former students. I'm like, you. So this is where you ended up. Taking some water. All right, so moving on. Masking, real life masking. Hey, Lars, yes. Hey, we finally get to see the bubble person again, who was revealed in a very quick blip back when they said, here are some of the characters you can look forward to. So whoever this balloon person is being greeted by Ragatha and by Pomni. It's probably making an order. And wait. Okay, then. Maybe this is just me. Does anyone else see the hat that's just poking right through the hair? For the hair, so like it's not on Ragatha's head, but because we're looking through her hair, can you see the hat? Can you see Gummy Goo's hat? I think that we might be getting Gummy Goo. So, and I mean, it's at least confirmed that we're going to get one other character, one other NPC showing up again in this episode, as the Gloink Queen reappears. Sen, you got to head out. Have a great night. Sen, thank you so much for popping on in and for your contributions, for your words. You're awesome. Thanks so much for being here. Five says, I thought it was just a McDonald's hat. Well, here's the thing is that when we go back, so when we hop on back, so right here is the visored hat that you would wear, that you would wear in this particular job. And then when we pop on over, I popped over a little too far. Okay. Yes. Okay. You're right. See, this is why it's always good to double check with other people, because I was already getting really excited right there. But I'm Omega says, looks hats. Okay, right through her hair, you can see the band. You can see the connection for the visor. So yes, so Fabio and I'm Omega, you guys are right. Though I do want Gummy Goo to come back, please, Gummy Goo. Though Gummy Goo is probably not going to return for a little while, just because he was the one who became the most sentient of all of the NPCs thus far. Yeah, it might just be an employee's hat, but I can hope to. Yeah, it's definitely an employee's hat the more I look at it. Now that I can see that band going through the back of her hair. There it is. Disappointment. Just how Pomni's feeling disappointed right here. Having to take these orders from people who can't even eat. And that's just frustrating. And I'll just say this: Pomni as the person taking orders sounds like the absolute worst job for her to have. She probably wouldn't like it being one of the cooks, but she could probably actually be a good cook. And being someone who has to just give people their food at the window, she could do. But being someone who has to interact with everyone face to face and take their orders, and look how short she is compared to the counter. Yeah, this job is going to be miserable for little Pomni. All my dreams and ambitions were utterly destroyed in the fraction of a second just now. Darn. But, well, Mimic, that's exactly how Jax is feeling right there. All the mouthless customers, you're right. Yeah, I think Gummy Goo would come back being just the 3D model, the voice, maybe the accent, none of the memories. Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen right there. So here we got Jax is just utterly dying. At this point in the day, you can see the pinkish hue in the background. So this is coming to the end of their day, of their work day, and he has had it. Oh boy, the sun's going down. He's like, I just want to go. Like, I'll go back to the digital circus, please. Just get me out of this hellhole. Which there are always days like that at work. Now then, I tried to blow this up a little bit, and everything was already fuzzy before, so blowing it up really didn't help out a whole lot. However, here's something kind of interesting. Here's Gangel's mask in the background with a note. And that's a little bit curious. We got what appears to be maybe possibly a drawing or two. And remember this, that Gangle likes to draw, right? Gangle and do stuff in her little notebook. So I think that this might be some of her drawings up here in the back. Would be my guess. Yeah, Jax is the Squidward of the situation. He absolutely is. This guy just wants to die already. And then here we have Ragatha. This is her as she's just like, oh, I don't want to do this job. So even good old positive Ragatha is definitely not feeling it this episode. This is definitely not her kind of adventure. Oh yeah, I want to read that Gangle's Mask motivational poster so hard. I want to read it too, but it needs to actually be in focus for us to be able to read it. So maybe this will be a Gangle-centered episode. Mimic, that's what I believe. I think this is going to be a very Gangle-centric episode. Her name tag is in cursive. I like that. I like being able to see. I like seeing stuff written in cursive. Sad fact, more and more people these days don't know how to read or how to write in cursive. And so it's gotten to the point now where anything that is in cursive, there's just loads of people who just can't understand it. And so like it's like there's been stories of like grandparents writing just cards and letters to their grandchildren, and they're writing cursive, and their grandchildren can't read it because they haven't learned how to write cursive. I only learned cursive. Yeah. Oh, see, cursive is just nice. My cursive is dirty. It does not look good, but writing cursive is great. See, here we got the suggestions box. So obviously the suggestions box is full, and Kane is coming to it. He's going to have a look at it. And that crack that Bubble was licking in one of the other frames is the crack that's been created by Kane ripping the box off of the pillar. I guarantee that that's it. Like, they tried to teach me non-cursive, but I eventually forgot. In school, I learned how to write in print first, and then how to do cursive. And then we were only allowed to write in cursive throughout a good portion of high school. So Kane nervously looking at those suggestions. And again, I think that those suggestions are what kind of create this situation right here. He's like, well, they want to have their normal life. They want to go back to they want to go back to their own world. Well, what do I know of their world? Okay, here's their situation as best as I can figure it. You ever got the Gloink Queen with the Gloinks coming through to pick up her order? And Jack's freaking out. Oh, that's just perfect. So we got one NPC returning. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to hear if she still sounds like herself, or if we now have a new voice for the Gloin Queen. We don't exactly know just yet. And also, I think that one of the reasons why Gangle will end up being the manager is I think that's because Gangle wants to be. I think that actually one of the suggestions either came from Gangle or from someone else to give Gangle a confidence boost. And that Kane's like, okay, well, what if I made Gangle the one in charge? And she gets to prove herself. That could be it. Pomni. So this is the point. So this is right before she begins to freak out in the teaser. When I tried to get a frame of her freaking out, it just looked really blurry. So I instead went for this one right here, right as she's just bored and unimpressed and just wants to get out of this hellhole. Her little tag looks really festive, the way she's written Pomni. This is where she suddenly freaks out from whoever comes and addresses her, which could be Gummy Goo, or it could be the balloon guy, or it could be someone else. We just don't know yet. It don't look so sad running the register. And then this is when Kane is shaking Bubble, introducing whatever the new game is. Probably talking about how they got to make shakes, which coincidentally, you then get to watch Jax shake Ragatha. As he's talking right over here to Gangle about whatever it is that they're going to talk about. And then he's just going to pick her up and just start make that Ragatha shake. Mick, yeah, as a spoiled brat Gen Z, I'm very grateful that I was taught to write in cursive. I was probably amongst the very last set of students at my school that were taught to write in cursive. Oh, wow. Yeah, see, I feel like something's lost by not teaching cursive. Just knowing that you can write in various ways. And cursive is faster. And also it's more elegant. Also, cursive is an indication, is a better indication of a person's mental state. Not that if you can't write cursive, that means that you're stupid or horrible, but cursive actually in some kind of way helps to unlock potential in the brain. It's there's some interesting science behind that. Average Bubble moment getting shaken up by Kane. Kinger, interestingly, is hardly in this trailer at all. You actually get more Zubul than you do Kinger. Now then, this is an interesting moment right here. So, this is Zubul's room. We know it's Zubul's room because the door is opening inside, and it's Zubul's face on the door. Zubul's room. And also, you can kind of see it as well in the decor. Now then, in the trailer, you get to this briefest shot when Gangle is opening and closing her eyes, kind of like a waking up moment. What I think is happening here is that Gangle has come to visit Zubul, and then Zubul's like, "Oh, that's a new mask," and then Gangle might be all like, "What? It's my old mask. I haven't done anything." And then it's like, "No, look at yourself in the mirror." And this is Gangle realizing, I've got a new mask on. And I think that with how excited this mask looks, it seems way more animated with actual pupils, one eye being different than the other, a pink swirl and a gold star, that this is supposed to, in Gangle's mind, represent, I think, more excitedness and exuberance, a sense of positivity, a sense of creativity that Gangle wants to have. Like, holy cow, this could represent everything that I've ever wanted. A new day, a new me, yay! Which for Gangle is a pretty big deal. And also for Zubul, this would be a pretty big deal. And I think it's one of the reasons why Zubul ends up coming on the adventure in this episode. As we're going to see that Zubul actually ends up being there at the restaurants. TV Can says, I think cursive is more of an art form and a craft than a mandatory. Depending on where you're at, TV Account, it now is definitely treated more like an art form and a craft than anything mandatory here in the States. Hey, she got painted over? Man, maybe that's what happened, but we'll find out. I don't think anyone though changed her eyes. Like, and if Jax is going to pull a prank on Gangle, I don't think it would be him making her a slightly pretty, more energetic mask. Maybe Kane thought the two masks were too limited, so this is less limiting, maybe for a positive or detriment. Potentially, this is most likely Kane's doing. We're gonna have to wait and see. But this is definitely a new development, and Gangle is very surprised by this. And this is probably This is the beginning of Gangle being like, "Oh, I can turn over a new leaf, do something different." Isa says, since she already has a comedy and a tragedy mask, the black and white on this new mask makes me think that's a neutral mask. Equal comedy, equal tragedy. And I think that's a good idea. I think that's a good place to start with that. Though, again, I do come back to the fact that she's got pupils with this mask, which makes her far more expressive. And the swirl and the star are definitely more like energetic things. So I think that like aesthetically speaking, that you can see the merger of comedy and happiness with tragedy and sadness there in the motif of black and white meeting, yin and yang. Things need to be balanced on out. And if we're going to get a little bit meta right here, let's say that the mask is about excitedness, exuberance, energy. You can't know what happiness is, and you can't know what energy is unless you also know what it's like to be powerless or to be depressed or to be sad, to feel all lack of motivation. We know who we are because we have an opposite to help us understand ourselves. An opposite in terms of feeling, an opposite in terms of emotion, an opposite in terms of appearance. And so for Gangle, for Gangle, there is definitely a lesson to be learned in that there is tragedy and there's comedy, there's happiness and sadness, there's good and there's bad, and our life is a mix of the two. And so maybe the mask could help to represent that particular lesson, but that might be us more reading into it than what the episode itself will present to us. But I do like that idea, and it's definitely something that can be expounded on by anyone who's got way more knowledge than I do of psychology, who can have some real fun with this. Actually, it'd be really, really interesting to get the Therapist Reacts channel to one day tackle the Amazing Digital Circus. That would be awesome to hear their reactions. So yeah, the new mask, and then here we have Pomni. I cannot tell. I want to hear from you guys in the chat. Does Pomni right here look like she's actually happy, or does Pomni look like she's absolutely suffering? I don't really know. There's a part of me that wants to say that this is her suffering because there's so many lines to her face. A line under the lip, a line at the edge of her mouth, the lines under their eyes, there are lines showing the contorting of her forehead. This could very easily be her trying to put a somewhat happy face onto just an absolutely tortured soul. So I don't know. I'm going to say that this is probably a more pained expression than it is a happy one. Meg says, yeah, kind of like the Inside Out movie. You can't have happiness without sadness. Exactly. Sorry about that. Yeah, you have to know both. Life is a blend of those two and all other emotions. So if I says, well, this ain't genuinely happy, especially with furrowed brows. You don't tend to do that much when you're happy. Yeah, see, that's my reading of it. And as Bonnie says right here, looks really anxious to me, or maybe that's just because I relate. Yeah, there's definitely an anxiousness. I feel like this is a little bit more pain than it is happy. Oh, poor Pomni. And this is also before we get to one of the other shots from later on, because look at all that trash building on up, and she's going to later on be taking out the trash. Taking out the trash like you do. Yay, we finally have a shot of Kinger. What is Kinger doing here? Who knows? But Kinger is present. And this is the only time that we actually get to see him at all in the teaser trailer or have any reference to him. And then we get Kane here in this office space. This is an interesting shot for me because this could easily be at the restaurant in the lounge area, the workers' lounge area, or in the manager's office. So that's what it could be. It could be him, for instance, talking to Gangle, saying, "Hey, look, you're going to be the manager. Good luck." Or this could be back in one of the back rooms of the Digital Circus. I don't really think it's within the back rooms of the Digital Circus where Pomni ended up in the pilot episode, just because we see these ridiculous motivational posters of hanging in there and lift yourself up, from a person who's doing a handstand to the cat who's hanging on for dear life, and then whatever that other poster is there in the bottom left-hand corner. Yay, Kinger is present. Yes. Kinger is the kid that was left at home while everyone else went to work. So Kinger is Kevin? Oh man, Kevin has got a bad future ahead of him. So it's kind of hard to tell what's really happening here in this particular shot, but I do find this one very interesting. Poster straight from the internet. Yep. Now then, here's where things already start maybe coming apart a little bit right here for Gangle, because that exuberant, excited-looking mask is now twinged with shock and with horror. Again, look at the lines under the eyes and how the pupils are dilated. How one pupil is also off from the other one. That is a very interesting little tell right here. So who knows exactly what's going on here with this particular shot, but things are not looking all that great for Gangle. And of course, talking with Jax, which kind of makes sense. Jax and Gangle. Yay. This shot just feels so relatable. And look at those very obviously McDonald's hamburgers. And McDonald's fries. And Ragatha just looks like she's absolutely done with life. Oh boy, not much to really take away from this one other than that working at Spud's Day is probably not what you want to spend your life doing once you graduate from high school. Now then, another little interesting shot here with Gangle, and I feel like this is going to be at the end of the episode. Is here we have Gangle back to drawing, obviously with her tragedy mask on, crying. And Zubul, their hand, and you can see their arm, are right there on the wall. Let's see here. Mimic says, hold up, is that shaped what I think it's shaped? Or are we talking about the... Mimic, are you talking about the very obvious shape of the French fry container? A mask that allows for more freedom of expression, which could cause unexpected reactions, since she's never been able to feel that before since joining the circus. And Fabio, I think you actually have a good idea right there. Yeah, maybe her masks, her exchange of masks allow her to momentarily feel other things. And so having this completely different new mask on would in many ways kind of be overstimulating, overwhelming for someone who has not had the chance to experience those emotions for a long time or ever before. It'll be interesting to see what we learn about that mask. But this, again, coming back to this is just an interesting little shot to me. I really feel like this is going to be at the end of the episode. After everything has kind of really kind of fallen apart. The adventure is done. What was the lesson that we were supposed to learn? Who knows? And as Gangle's like, well, my mask is gone and I don't feel happy anymore. That Zubul, remember that Zubul is someone who has not found any escape or relief within the Digital Circus because there's no way for them to find the right body that they feel comfortable in. It's something that they can't escape. And so for Gangle, who seems to be unable to escape her tragedy, because the moment that she loses any other mask, she reverts back to this crying state right here. I think that Zubul might be the one who ends up actually being able to deliver, I think, some good positive words of comfort to Gangle. And I'd like to see that. I think that'd be really cool to see Zubul be the one to really reach out to other people and help out, because in the last episode, we definitely get a good hint of a more considerate, more observant, more knowledgeable person that Zubul actually is, but that they always have up this very annoyed and uncaring facade, especially around Kane and Jax. But maybe around other people, Zubul can actually be a far better friend in person. So I think that this will be something that we see at the end of the episode, is my guess. Hannah says the food looks good, not gonna lie. Yes, that looks way better than anything you can actually get at McDonald's. Yeah, the food does look delicious, though. They were animated very well. I do agree. If this is at the end, and it does seem so, either the mask breaks or is taken away by Kane now that the test is over. Yeah, I think that she's going to lose the mask. I don't think it's going to get broken. I think it's going to get taken from her. Though, at the same time, if the mask does break, what I think would be interesting would be to see that, like, let's consider if the mask breaks. Because I'm agreeing that I think that the mask is going to get taken away from her. But let's say that the mask breaks. It would be really interesting because we know that she will revert to the tragedy expression. But what if, in that moment where the mask breaks, that even though she still has the tragedy mask on, we get a sense of relief from her character. Like, wow, that overstimulating, crazy experience and everything that I thought I was supposed to be and supposed to do is now gone. And I feel free, but I am back to the same miserable person I was before. What the heck? And again, existential crisis. Throughout the Amazing Digital Circus, characters feel like they can't move forward in any kind of way. You can't escape. Kinger can't avoid being insane. Friendship helps, but you're stuck. And with Zubul, there is no easy fix to their problem. Because that's just not the way that the human mind or the human body works. So what if for Gangle it's that kind of that revelation in terms of emotions, that you can't just simply cover it up and you can't escape the emotions that you're feeling. So what do you then do in that particular existential crisis? What do you do when the emotions that you feel are not the emotions that you want, but you can't just simply fake your way until you make it, because it just doesn't always work. And for some people, absolutely not. And it'll be very interesting to see how that heavy issue is tackled. Now, if the mask is taken away, it would definitely be because Gangle doesn't learn the lesson that Kane wants her to, or that the adventure that Kane had created is done. And so he's like, oh, I gave you your chance. You were the manager. You did your job. You had power. You were someone else for a day. Hooray. I hope you're feeling better now. Now your mask is gone. Like, I helped you. And just like with Zubul, I helped you. I gave you more body parts. But that's not the actual solution to the problem at all. So we'll see how it's handled. I can see it going both ways, but I do believe that the mask getting taken away is something that could definitely be the more likely scenario. However, the mask breaking does open up all kinds of possibilities, narratively speaking. TV account, well, I think it's at the beginning of the episode, not the end. Okay, TV account, I'd like to hear why you would think that this is actually at the beginning of the episode, this particular shot. Because if you've got a good theory about that right there, I definitely want to hear it. Ends of the episode in the Amazing Digital Circus tend to indeed have subtle nighttime while inside, or sunset-like lighting. Okay. All right. So moving along, then to get to the next bit. So here, hey, look, Zubul actually showed up on the adventure this time around, scooping up burgers, and Jax is absolutely losing his mind. I love just everything about this shot right here. Just the Zubul being absolutely resigned to this mundane, boring work, and Jax going insane from it all. It fits perfectly. And again, I'd like to be able to read what's right there because it's not in focus. I can't really read what's on the refrigerator. So who knows? Who knows what's really what we're supposed to get from that, if anything. if anything. So moving on then to the next still. This one is hilarious because we've got Pomni creeping along the tile. I think, and this is what I think is the challenge, is that the challenge isn't just simply to work for a whole day at the restaurant, at the fast food restaurant, but that they have to get so many orders correct by the end of the day. And I think that Pomni is going to have accidentally handed the wrong order to a customer, and so she's going to try to covertly get that order back. That's what this is telling me. from this whole little episode right here, because I don't know what other reason she has for crawling along the floor. Fabio, Kane sees problem as solved immediately when he solves them, while not actually seeing it worked long term. He wouldn't think of a long term in that way. Exactly, Fabio. Like, yep, faking it till you make it can only work for so long. Your emotions will always come and sneak back on you. Darn emotions. TV Count says maybe this is at the end of a previous adventure and starts to lament about the mask and wishing for a better mask. Okay, TV Count, I can see that. I can see that definitely being an opening to the episode, kind of a flashback just to another adventure. Or maybe this episode opens up with them having completed one adventure and Gangle then expressing her thoughts and feelings to Zubul. So I can definitely see that. And as we get on over to the next one right here. So here we've got, these expressions are just great. So here we got Ragatha, who looks kind of a little drunk right here. Maybe she's been hitting the sauce. Since there's sauce packets right back here, she's not looking good. Polly's like, don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious. But yeah, so Agatha's not looking like she's really on into it. And then here we got Gangle, who's looking all very managerial right there, this isn't necessarily an angry expression. This is a scrutinizing inspection. Like, okay, what exactly is going on here? TV Count says, remember, the set of these images is out of order. Yes, and a good trailer will do that. It will have things out of order. It's up to us to try to figure out exactly what's going on without the context before we get the context on the 13th. Woohoo! So this right here, again, we lack the context. Who knows why Ragatha is acting this way? But it's clearly not according to code. And Gangle's trying to figure out what's going on here. Gangle's looking good, though. Gangle dressed up well. Would Jack sneakily eat the burgers? I think he would. He absolutely would. And he could eat and he could probably keep on eating them because, again, according to Kinger, they don't actually need to eat. They just the game just tries to simulate what it's like to eat. And so if you know that, you can just kind of press on through what your brain is telling you and then snarf down too many burgers. So here we got the passage of time. When you actually watch this in the trailer, this is just to show the passage of time from the day to the evening, where we're then going to get a couple of shots that are rather interesting. So this takes us back to what we saw previously from when Gangle's looking into Zubul's mirror and sees her new mask. And this is the rest of them coming in, checking on things, and Jack's being like, what the heck? What kind of weird mask are you wearing this time, Gangle? Like, when did you make that? That's kind of what her expression right there is telling me, while these two are looking off to the side, which is probably looking at whatever Zubul is doing. So that'll be interesting. Mook says Ragatha is either drunk or just bored as heck. It seems like Jack's sassiness is rubbing off on her. Yeah, and in a situation where you just do not like, when you work at a job that you don't like, the common denominator quickly becomes the worst employee's attitude. Whatever the worst employee's attitude is, becomes the common denominator for everyone else who doesn't enjoy the job that they're working at. TV count. Also, if the Toronto theory is true, then that explains why I do the human version of the characters in Scott Pilgrim art style. Huzzah! We've made a TV count. You've made a connection. Pomni looking as worried as when she saw Kaufmo. Oh. Yeah, I don't think we're going to have anyone abstracting this episode, but full of anxiety, fearing the tiniest possibility of it happening again. Yes, definitely. I think that if they're paying any attention to their fellow prisoners within the circus, there's a good reason to suspect that any one of them might suddenly just wig out and then begin abstracting. Sorry about that. And yeah, and when was the last time that she went to someone else's room? It was Kaufmo's when he abstracted. Ah, yes. Okay, and here we got the glorious freak out expression from Gangle. Now then, context-wise, in the background, the lighting gives us a hint that this might be at the end of the day. And so at the end of the day, as things start really coming to a head, this is probably when Gangle begins to lose it. When you watch this moment in real time, you see that her one eye is twitching. It's not a good twitch when someone's got a twitchy eye like that. Fun. Okay, little story from Lars in high school. Most of the time I would not get a good night's rest. And so one time during PE, I was just having a normal day. I was not feeling particularly angry or sad or anything like that. And I enjoyed PE, and we were all supposed to stand in a line and receive instructions for whatever. But I was so tired that I started having these weird face spasms. And so one of my eyes began twitching. And my PE teacher looked at me and just saw my eye just like going berserk, and it was all like, she never said like, "Are you okay?" But she looked at me as if I was about to like explode, and just suddenly start ranting at her. And so when I look at this face right here from Gangle, that's what that takes me to, of like. Gangle, like either Gangle is exhausted or Gangle is emotionally, mentally at a breaking point. And that is what we're beginning to see right there with her black eye twitching. Yeah, Gangle looks pretty mad, in quotations. She's looking insane. Oh, poor Gangle. And then here we got still got Ragatha looking all kind of weird right here. So again, like what's going on with her? I saw one person said maybe she's feeling love right now. After having had a look a little bit more closely at the events within this particular teaser trailer, maybe she did just get to see a real hunk of an AI character. I think it's probably very likely that she's still tripping on whatever it was that we saw her previously looking really zoused on. Back when Gangle was trying to figure out what the heck is going on with her. Has she been consuming too much sauce? Is she finally breaking because of the work environment? Or did Jax manage to smuggle in some whiskey and she stole it? Who knows? Ragatha looking pretty here. I love her facial expressions. Says maybe if I was says I love the reflections here. So we're coming close here to the end of the different still images. And here we got Spuds Day. Here we got the commercial and Gangle getting really excited. Oh boy, she does not look well in this image at all. It looks like she's broken a little bit. Fabi says I can see Ragatha getting absolutely exhausted in this episode and looking like that. Yes. Yeah, when you work too long, you start getting loopy. And oh boy, being loopy at work is just not fun. She looks more drunk than in love. Yeah, Tia, I agree. Like, I don't see the lovey-doveyness. I really see her being more like a, ooh. I see the green fairy. Oh, there was something in that sauce. Are you sure you drank sauce? No, I just drank the most expired apple cider you have. Maybe Ragatha just discovered that the Krabby Patty secret formula. You know what? That would be hilarious. I would love it if part of this episode makes a reference to SpongeBob and the Krabby Patties and the Krabby Patty secret formula. That would be fantastic. That'd be a great little wink and a nod. Now then, this shot right here is an interesting one. So they're outside. It's now nighttime. And here is Pomni, obviously getting caught by Gangle. She doesn't look very happy at being caught. And it looks like she has a trash bag. Is she taking out the trash? Or could she be taking food out to someone? Don't know yet. At first I thought that these were exit doors right here, but they're not. In better lighting, you can actually see the Spuds Day logos on them in the background. So no more escape to an exit door, but it could be that Pomni's just doing something simple like taking out the trash or maybe taking food out to someone, and Gangle's like, oh, Pomni, we still have work to do. And Pomni's like, oh no, please, no, don't make me go back in there. It's hard to tell what's really happening here in this scene, again, without proper context, but it's clear that this is meant to be an ominous encounter. Vi says, though, when she looks like that and you're talking about her drinking something, gave me the image of Chex. Oh no, we're not going there, Fabio. Oh, not at all. Staff only, and there's a staff only door too. Yeah, there's a staff only door right there. But in the background, there's two red blocks that look like doors. Those aren't actually doors in the back there. At first I thought they were, but after going back a couple of times and looking closer, that's not what they are. Though it would be interesting to see another exit door crop on up, especially everyone's like, I just get us out of this place. Exit door appears. Yes, please. We'll take the exit door and get out of this horrible working environment. Please. It doesn't matter if we go back to that horrible maze of rooms, which I don't know if I brought this up in the live stream or not. I have actually been in a place that had those kinds of rooms, and it was freaky. It was at an old school up in Springerville, which is a little podunk town in eastern Arizona. I went there to help some of my friends get school supplies to take over to one of the other schools in the Valley area. And this old school had been converted into an office area. And it was creepy. It was so creepy because it was just endless rooms that had been gutted, but there were still like racks and boxes and bits of odds and ends all over the place. The lighting was dim because it was mostly just emergency lighting, or the most minimal stuff that they could have on and still be okay because they were basically saving energy. It was so creepy. Oh, I was happy to get out of that place. But yeah, putting stuff in drinks, if I was unclear, just be sure. Oh, Fabio, no, you were clear. I got it. I'm just not going to say it just in case YouTube, because YouTube censorship being dumb as it is. Honestly, though, thank goodness that they're not working at a pizza place. So wouldn't want them to spend 5 nights there. Liminal space moment. Yeah, we don't need anyone 5 nights at Freddy's here in this episode. Ugh. And maybe this is what Ragatha gets drunk on or whatnot. Look at all of this. Look at all of this purple stuff. So here we got Gangle looking very happy and very managerial. She's even flexing her arm right there, showing off that muscular bulge. And Ragatha is just not having any of it. She is so done. Fried Nights at Freddy's. Yes. Oh, man. Oh, Ragatha, I've been there too. Don't you worry, girl. Things will get better one day. But I feel bad for Gangle right here, because Gangle is very obviously getting into the role as manager and is trying to do her absolute best, and she just happens to be working with the worst people and at the worst job. Let's be honest. Oh boy. But that then will almost take us then to Five Nights at Cane's. And that then takes us to the last image that I took from the teaser trailer. So again, the suggestions box, he's got it, and then there's the crack in the pillar because he probably ripped it right on out. Now, here's the interesting thing. So when you play this in real time, you see that he is zipping his lips. There is a person that he's talking to, and it's very clearly Jax. Now then, is this him saying like, "Oh, don't you worry, I'm going to give you the adventure that you want. Just don't let anyone know that I took the suggestions box"? I don't know, but this is an interesting little encounter right here. Taking some water. So, with that, if we pop back on over here again.
So roll up your sleeves and wash your hands, because we got burgers to make.
Why are you talking like
making
that?
the burgers.
What's wrong with you?
Looks like somebody doesn't have their smile on. Why don't you go into the freezer and get some patties ready?
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, it was freezing in there.
What were you... What's going on?
Find out in the brand new episode coming at you soon.
Oh boy. So yeah, lots of little bits right there. So you guys have now seen some of the stills. Definitely take your time to go through it again and again and find any other details that I missed by not having a look at one particular frame. I think we got all of the important stuff out of there. And again, because we're lacking a whole lot of context, it's hard to exactly say what's going to happen or why this is all chosen. But oh boy, poor Gangle, she's going to go through the ringer in this episode. Probably, I haven't worked in fast food or retail, but I sure did hear stories from workers' perspectives. And yeah, with the suggestions box, someone totally suggested just a normal day for once in our never-ending lives. Please. Yes, that is absolutely what came, and what they got is a really normal day in a horrible life. Again, if you get to work with some of the cool cats that I got to work with when working at Jimmy John's, that's totally fine. But unless you have that kind of an amazing crew to work with, yeah, working fast food is not that great. I had a student that tried to convince me that his life was amazing because he was a manager at McDonald's. And he was like, "Mr. Jensen, I don't need to learn because I'm a manager at McDonald's. I'm making more money than anyone else here. I'm great." And then right before he graduated, he was like, "I need another job. I can't stand working at McDonald's. I hate having to do customer relations. Please let me out of this." And I'm like, "So how are those grades look?" He's all like, "I almost didn't graduate because I flunked so many classes." I'm like, yeah. So how about next time you focus a little bit more on your actual studies rather than thinking you're making all that money on overworking at McDonald's? There's plenty of time to make money. But you got to focus on the now and take care of the most important things. And an education is way better than a McDonald's paycheck, because a good education can get you more than a McDonald's paycheck. And from what I heard of that guy, he didn't just simply quit. He quit by also sabotaging stuff over at the McDonald's. So no, he's not getting a good recommendation. The moron. Oh my gosh. I taught so many interesting students. I also had one student who dropped out of school because he wanted to be a manager over at Denny's. which is a restaurant for anyone who doesn't know that. And I was like, really? And he was just like, he's like, Lars, he's like, Mr. Jensen, I'm not going to come back to school. I'm going to be working full time as a manager over at Denny's. I'm like, you're 16 years old. He's like, yeah, but I'm a 16-year-old manager at Denny's. I'm going to be making so much money. I'll be able to afford my own car. My parents don't have to pay for my phone anymore. Or it's going to be great. I'm going to be independent. And I'm like, you're dropping out of school to work as a manager, an underage manager over at Denny's, a restaurant that has cheap food. Are you really? And he did. He quit school and went to work as a manager full-time at Denny's. And I've got no idea whatever happened to that kid. I wish him the absolute best. But I can guarantee you this, that if he thought that he was going to make the big bucks over at Denny's, the only way that guy is ever going to make good money over at Denny's is if he ends up being a property owner. Which, if you don't have the proper education to know how to run a business and how to balance the financial books and how to do actual management of people, management of the site, management of the facilities, management of finances, you do not get to own a property of the establishment. You do not get to oversee multiple managers and do a great job and rake in tons of money, or at least a decent paycheck. So I hope that guy figured it out before he wasted too much time over at Denny's. Vivek says, I don't think we've ever seen Ragatha look this distraught before. Her expression mirrors all of McDonald's workers that have suffered and were never seen again. Yes, that is absolutely right. Anna says, LOL. Omega says, this is not going to end well. TV account, I feel like your next book should be about your time as a teacher. You've got some interesting tales. I do. If I ever, though, wrote a story about my time in school, I would probably try to write a story about my time in high school as a student, because that was wild. And I could make it all mostly true and not really have to change up anything, and it would still be absolutely bonkers. All right. Hold on a sec here. I got to blow my nose again. Sorry about that. Okay. So that's basically everything I can give right now for the Amazing Digital Circus. I really need to kick my button gear now for a new video before the next episode drops to have a look at how the Amazing Digital Circus has been doing thus far. So actually, if I pop on over to right now, have a look at the most recent episode, there's something that I thought was rather interesting, and I'm going to point this out right here. And this is part of what that video is going to get into. So the last episode of the Amazing Digital Circus, only on YouTube, has so far received 45 million views, which 45 million views is amazing. Do not get me wrong. However, when we think about the pilot has almost 360 million views. And then the second episode has 134 million views. What this means is that going down in order of the episodes thus far, each episode only has roughly a third of its of the previous episode's views. And that's really interesting to me. Now then, it's not the full story there, because Netflix, now that Netflix also shows the Amazing Digital Circus, Netflix picked up millions of views for the Amazing Digital Circus that could have gone to YouTube but didn't, which has expanded the show's reach, which is very good. The show is doing incredibly well. For crying out loud, they have their own themed restaurant for the Amazing Digital Circus in Japan now. That tells you that they're doing well. So So the Amazing Digital Circus is doing well, but the reduction in views is rather interesting to me. And so the next video that I want to do to kind of like follow up from a financial and from a business perspective, like I did with what I did with the show at the end of last year. I want to do that for this episode, and as a way of kind of setting up a rather larger episode for the end, or rather larger video for the end of this year, if I can manage it, which will have a look at how mainstream animation has been doing this year compared to indie animation. Because let's be honest here, DreamWorks had a fantastic movie in The Wild Robot, and Pixar delivered with Inside Out 2. It absolutely did. And I'm not going to take that away from them. However, how does that actually compare to the indie animation scene, which at the same time has been killing it? And so there's some big questions to be asked, some questions that need to be asked that people are not asking. So that will be my endeavor to ask and answer those questions in 2 upcoming videos. Mimic says, dude, what a manager at 16. At 16, I was crying my eyes out in my room while cramming my night away thanks to the procrastination demon. No, exactly. And I can tell you this, is that this kid, so a little frustrating note right here for me as a former teacher. I realized after my first year teaching that if I were to hold my students to the level that I was held at as a student, that 90% of them would flunk. I'm not talking like get C's or D's. I'm talking that they would straight up flunk my class. And part of that was like, okay, so is it just me? Like, am I a bad teacher? Am I not reaching my students really well? So for my first 2-3 years of teaching, I really focused a lot on what I myself was doing to try to make my lessons as accessible as possible and really speak to my students at their level, try to help them understand, make assignments very doable for them. And what I came to find out is that I as a teacher can always improve. And that was something I tried to do as a teacher was always try to improve and find the best way to teach possible from lesson to lesson, from student to student. However, my students collectively, and in many cases individually, were not at the level that they needed to be at. That most of my students could not write a full essay, let alone, they couldn't even write a full paragraph, let alone a whole essay. It just wasn't there. They didn't have that. They didn't have those capabilities. And that was horrifying. I realized then, as someone who's teaching sophomores and juniors, in some cases seniors, that suddenly now I had to teach them skills that they should have learned in elementary school for the basics of math and English, reading comprehension. Like, I understand as a history teacher, sometimes reading stuff from the past is really weird because you have to know the context and you have to know how people spoke. But even then, it's still easy to pick up on what the main takeaway from any like letter or newspaper is. And yet they couldn't do that. And they had a hard time expressing themselves. They had a hard time forming really intelligent thoughts. And there were some kids who were actually really smart, but lacked the skills to express themselves in any sort of educated way or insightful way. And I'm like, I hate this because I know that you know it, but you lack the skills. Oh, it was so frustrating. So coming back to this kid who decides to leave at 16, 17 years old to go be a manager at Denny's, there's no way that this kid had the skills to do well. He was getting a B in my class, and that was because I was grading all of my students easier than they should have been graded. If I was grading them at the level where they ought to have been graded as juniors, he would have been at best hovering at a low D. He would have been just a mere few percentage points away from failing. And if you're failing, you don't deserve to be a manager, because you are required as a manager to tap into so many different skills. And while someone might say, well, you don't need to be a historian to be a manager. True, but being a historian allows you to observe people, to learn about people, to bring ideas together, and to form those ideas into informed decision making. That is what history actually teaches you to do. It teaches you to understand people, how to empathize with people, and how to make informed inferences and decisions. History does that when you actually learn history. And so if you're a manager who can't understand people, who can't read the situation, who can't learn from the past, and who can't make informed decisions based on quick observations, then you do not deserve to be a manager. Like, you can earn that spot eventually, but oh my dude. The reason why you're a manager at 16, 17 years old at Denny's is because Denny's has a high turnover rate because it's a sucky place to work at. All right, there's my rant. All right, so it sounds like another case of the education system failing students. It is. And society, and American society has failed the education system. There's a long rant to be had there. TV Count, we need to remember that indie animation should be a way incurable change in the mainstream industry, not to be a replacement. Sorry, it's supposed to be encouraged. Okay, so it was supposed to be a way to encourage change in the mainstream industry, not to be a replacement. And TV Count, what I'll say to that is that, yeah, indie animation should inspire mainstream, and it should also be a way to get into the mainstream and encourage the mainstream to change. And I think that by now, because indie has become so huge and has become a bona fide other option, that indie animation can now be not necessarily the replacement of, but a competitor to mainstream, to inspire, to force it to change through the fact that it needs to compete. And that as people get better and better in indie, and then try to get into greater projects or try to amass the experience and the resources necessary to do larger projects, that means that they will have to brush up against the mainstream. There's a chance then for them to infiltrate the mainstream, to become a part of it, and to change it from within for the best, is my hope. And I really do feel that by 2030, we will see a definite shift where indie animation really does become a dominant force, not the dominant, but a dominant force within entertainment and storytelling. Because the skills will be there. All of these experiences had by creators like Liam Vickers, by Gooseworks, by Olin Rogers, by companies like Glitch Productions, gives other people inspiration. It gives them insight. It has encouraged. They've been encouraging so many other creators to get out there and do their thing, and more creators are taking to the field and trying to do their best. Not everyone succeeds, unfortunately, but that's just the way it goes. But as more and more people have been trying to succeed in their own storytelling, we've just seen a renaissance of creativity that is being absolutely ignored by the mainstream, because the mainstream is so stuck in their ways and with their own problems. And I hope that indie just comes way more to the forefront to really show people what is possible and what we should get back to, which is great storytelling and done in a manageable way. Okay, so with all of that being said, that's America for you, I guess. America. Before my voice really starts giving out, because talking for 2.5 hours with a cold is definitely something else. Sorry, brain suddenly went blank. Let's talk real quick about how to improve your dialogue. Now then, dialogue is something that we're going to come back to multiple times around, because there's always more things that you can do. Dialogue changes based on character to character, situation to situation, the story that you're telling, how mature or immature that story is. Meaning, like, is this a story made for little kids? Is this a story made for teenagers? Is this a story made for adults? Knowing your audience helps you to determine what kinds of language you will use. Are you going to be really tech oriented? Or are you going to get really into the minutia of like different different subsections of culture. So like goth and music, or are we going to be talking along the lines of mechanics? Are we going to be talking along the lines of truckers? We're going to be talking along the lines of pop stars. Everyone has their own interesting vernacular, which you would want to make sure that you try to remain as true as you can to that vernacular, so that way your story doesn't feel weird. It's like when if you know anything about a gun, and you read someone who's writing about like a gunfight, and they very clearly have no idea how a gun actually works, and so like he yanked the trigger, and the gun thundered, and the bullet came zipping on out. Like, okay, then, so that makes sense. You at least know that a gun thunders and that a bullet comes zipping on out. And you've definitely seen movies where people like pull on the trigger very violently. However, if you want to actually write a scene that uses guns effectively, the thunder of that gun should be ringing in someone's ears, unless they've got proper ear protection. A gun has recoil, and depending on the kind of gun that you have, it's going to have a certain kind of weight to it. And it will definitely do certain things depending on the bullets. Also, if you ever yank back on a trigger, your gun is immediately jerked in your hand, and it is not going to aim in the direction that you hoped it would. Just try that on out. Watch how your hand and wrist recoil a little bit when you violently pull in your trigger finger. When you do that, your gun is not going to aim properly. And people who know how guns work know this. And when they read a story that has guns that don't act that way, then yeah, it breaks their suspension of disbelief. So in any case, taking this on over to dialogue, when we think about dialogue, this is where some people have a hard time with it, because they want to write certain conversations, but then they've never actually had those kinds of conversations. So like, I want to write about two characters building up to that moment where they confess their love for each other. I have never confessed my love for someone. Oh no. How do you do that? And so then so to them, it then feels unnatural. And then because of that fear of writing unnaturally, it then comes always across as really stiff, or it's very clear that they're ripping away the dialogue from their favorite show or movie or book, rather than making it the dialogue of their actual characters. Or in other cases, people are all like, I don't have many friends that I talk with, and so how do I write something where this is very clearly a bunch of friends talking? I don't know what that sounds like. I don't even know what you talk about. And so my hope is that through some of the advice I can give you tonight, that you can already begin to move on a little bit from some of those fears and stumbling blocks to help make your dialogue better. And if that's not something that you're right now currently dealing with, but you do want to improve your dialogue, then here is some advice that will help you out. So I'll get to that right after I address right here what was just recently added. Oh yeah, Mr. Lars, any thoughts of the new Art of Murder pilot that came out recently? It's simply iconic. It is a great episode. I have high hopes for the Art of Murder. I thought it was very inventive, very creative, lots of hilarious jabs given to mainstream animation. And I think that it actually has an interesting murder element to it as well. And I look forward to hopefully sometime soon reviewing it and also giving my theory on who actually has committed the murder of OC. TV Account says, what does it mean to be a writer that hates their own character, that everyone else loves, even your own fans? I don't know, just asking. Okay, then. So, well, I mean, it's kind of all okay then. So, getting my thoughts in order right here. TV Account. The only character that I can think of like that would be Moash from the Stormlight Archive. However, Moash has a load of haters. I'm one of them. I despise Moash completely. Brandon Sanderson, who wrote Moash, was like, yeah, no, this guy sucks. Like, he was once asked, is there anything positive that you can say about Moash? And Sanderson stood there with a bemused smile on his face, waited about 20 seconds, and then said, "And there you have it," and then moved on to the next topic. Because if you can't say nothing nice, then don't say anything at all. And that is basically his approach to Moash, because Moash is the worst. And yet there is a dedicated fan base that loves Moash. And it's like, he's the best character that Sanderson has ever written. He's going to be the absolute hero. Just you watch. He will have his redemption arc and everything will be better. So what does it mean when a writer hates their own character, but when everyone else loves it, including their own fans? What I would say is this, is that authors know their characters better than anyone else. There'll be fans who say that they understand these characters entirely well, and they'll definitely feel that way. Fans develop connections to characters, but the writers should know these characters inside and out. And if an author really hates a character, there's a reason for it. There's characters that you get frustrated with because they're so hard to write for. Like, for instance, one of the characters from my Legend of the Ten Lords series, Bethany. She's a hard character to write for because she's a character that I have a hard time understanding. And I have a hard time understanding her because her motivations are ones that I have no sympathy with. But as a writer, I understand her. I understand her enough that I can tell you what Bethany would do in a given situation. I can tell you what motivates her. I can tell you what she likes, what she doesn't like, what her family life is, and everything else. She's a difficult character to write, but I don't hate her. Now then, there's a character like Gary from the same series who I despise. And I despise Gary because he is the epitome of the worst of what a teenage boy can be. Now, that doesn't mean that there's no redemption for him if he ever chose it, but he's the kind of person who, if you got to know Gary, you would be all like, I want to live on the other side of the world from you and never take up any of your calls or texts because you're the absolute worst of the worst. And I hate him because he's such a horrible person. However, I wrote him because he was essential to the story. And I wanted to explore some of the darker themes of toxic friendships and of toxic individuals that people don't like to discuss. And as I have told anyone who has read my book, I've told them, hey, look, you know a Gary in real life. If you've read my book, The Knights of Halicruz, and you then read The Dark Rebellion and The Marauding Empire, Gary's in all three of those books. And if you've read those books, read Gary's parts, you know a person like Gary in your real life. I guarantee you do. And I guarantee that you have done your absolute best to avoid that person at all costs. And I'm like, I decided to have a story where I would not shy away from that kind of a person. I was going to give you that person and then show you the natural conclusion of what happens if you give this kind of person too much power. And so there's an example of a character I have a really hard time writing. And there's an example of a character I absolutely hate. But in both cases, I need to write these characters because of what they do for the story. T again says that maybe don't watch Miraculous Ladybug. Ladybug, you will be left very confused. I've been told to watch Miraculous Ladybug. I've been told, a lot of people are like, you need to watch it just to experience it. And one of these days I will get around to doing that. Isos says, I find if I hate a character, it helps to traumatize them and give them a redemption of some sort, even if they're still a horrible villain. Very interesting. There's a take right there. And I can see the benefits of that particular approach, Iso. Iso also says, that's why I'm planning for the villain of Fable of the Hunter. He used to be my least favorite character. Now he's in the top 5. Oh, that's really neat. There's some character development for you. Nick says there's also the characters that everyone in their senile grandmothers hate except for you. Yes. And I do believe that... well, actually, I take that back. I thought that everyone was going to hate Bob the Virus when I wrote him. But then there are those people who have read Bob the Virus, who've read the parts of Bob the Virus from the Legend of 10 Lords, and they're just all like, oh my gosh, this character is fantastic. He keeps me on my toes. Like, excellent. He should. So, getting around finally to talking dialogue. One of the best ways of really bring dialogue to life is to find out how any one particular character in your story speaks. And I encourage you, this is going to feel embarrassing. It absolutely is. But I'm going to encourage you to say some of the lines of your characters out loud, or to have a conversation with yourself as if you were that character, and just see what it feels like, what it sounds like to you. So, and that then helps you to figure out how exactly you may want to write that character. So, for instance, for my book, for my newest book, A Study in Blood, there's this one character, his name is Edom. And Edom has a very like cool, laid back kind of way of sounding to him, where he's all like, yeah, nah, brother. Like it. So to kind of get myself into character, yeah, nah, brother. Yeah, you never stood a chance against me. See, I was all over the place with Nexus lines. You didn't stand a chance. I was on it. You weren't. You were playing with your little marbles, while I was focused on the big picture. And that's why I'm a better war mage than you. Well, but with you constantly controlling all of that water, Edom, you're going to die a whole lot faster because you're using up way too much magic. Nah, brother, let me tell you this. Using all that water, that's simple. Because water wants to flow, you feel me? Water wants to flow. So if I want the water to go where I want it to go, all I gotta do is just nudge it a little bit and the water will flow. That's what people don't understand. I can use amazing power by just simply suggesting where that power's gotta go, brother. So speaking like that right there. So I'm like, okay then. So I know how I want Edom to sound. Now, I want him to sound like he got kind of that little bit of a slyness right there. He's a little bit laid back. He's very confident. So I want to then make sure that as I write those lines, and this takes practice. It takes practice to transfer whatever kinds of conversations you have with yourself out there onto the page. But you're like, okay then, so what do I need to do? So for one of these things, I have Edom saying brother a whole lot. Brother is a term of endearment or of condescension, depending on who he's talking to. But that's going to be one of the words that he's going to use. Now then, on top of that, what else? Like, I then need to think about how do I describe how he says something in order for the reader to at least get a hint of that slyness, that confidence, and that tone of voice. So I might want to write in the conversation, Edom said slyly, or Edom said in a very confident manner, or Edom struck a pose as he leaned back and waggled his eyebrows and said, oh, brother, controlling water is one of the easiest things imaginable. All you gotta do is just prompt it a little. And there you go. Now then, for the person who's supposed to have a conversation with him, I then have to think about, okay then, so who is this other person? Because it's not just me having a conversation with Edom. Edom might have a conversation with Vix, the main character. So Vix is a very exuberant guy, very energetic, very excited, and does not like to admit when he's wrong or when he's lost. And so if you were to have Edom and Vix hanging out with each other, Vix doesn't have cool turns of phrases. And that's actually one of the things that's significant about him, because it kind of shows that he's his identity is wrapped up more in his quest, in his personal quest to help out the war mages, rather than in just simply being himself like Edom is. And so for Vix, I think, okay, Vix, energetic, exuberant, hates being wrong. How would Vix respond to this. Vix at least has a quick enough of a wit that he could come up with a lame excuse that works, but that Edom could tear him apart for it. And so, like, for instance, there's a part in the book where they're doing push-ups, and Edom distracts Vix, so Vix loses count of his push-ups. So he's like 4, 44, 59, 61, 2. Dude, stop that! I don't need you. Oh, I forgot it. I don't even remember where my count was. Well, you should have been paying more attention, brother. Well, they do say that push-ups only really count when they start hurting. Well, for you, that was like back at 5, you little weak guy. Oh, I'll show you, weak. Yeah, how do you like that? How do you like it? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. Oh my gosh, I'm losing it. And just getting into your characters right there. So, hint number 1. Do the embarrassing thing. Be a little bit awkward. If you have to shut yourself away in a room so that way no one else hears you, please practice what it's like for your characters to talk to each other. Then, once you've done that and you're beginning to get into them, because it's going to take a little while, you're not instantly going to dive into who these characters are and pull them all out. That kind of magic takes some work. Think about what is something that they might say, or how they might say it in a way that conveys that they are their own person. So again, for Edom, laid back, confident. He's got some turns of phrases or some words he likes to use. Vix is energetic. So I have to convey that in very clipped sentences. He speaks with few words. He speaks fast. So I have to convey that in his words and as I write their conversation. So I would say Vix and Edom were doing push-ups and Edom was teasing Vix, doing the wrong number count in order to throw Vix off. Vix suddenly, and then start doing the conversation. And so like Vix is like breathing hard. He's like, okay, guys, crank out these push-ups. I'm going to show you, man. And Edom just leaning back and laughing. So body language helps to convey how these characters are talking, and thinking about what kinds of words they would use, how they would speak. All of that helps to bring out the individuality of your characters. So Fabi says, I've done that kind of dialogue in my head that I go off on by myself. We need Surfer Bro Magic Water user somewhere. Guess it was natural for me since I want to voice some of my characters. Awesome. And that's great. Hannah says, LOL. TV Count says, well, if you're willing to enter the Ladybug gate, know that it's more of a don't than a do when it comes to writing, especially for kids. Oh, I've definitely heard that. Amazing says, honestly, back when I was writing for my blog, I gave a character a traumatic experience as a start of a character arc when he gets a new suit. Oh, I do that all the time. And then Iso says, I say my best written character so far is one of my protagonist's teammates, Nancy. She's like my opposite, but despite that, I think I wrote her surprisingly well. I almost regret making her a side character. Hey, you can always give her a little short story spinoff where she's the main character if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes the side characters end up being some of the most fun to write because they get so much personality. When I was writing Nessa for the first time in The Legend of the Ten Lords, she's such an excitable pipsqueak and nerd. It was so much fun. It was so much fun writing for her. So yeah, once you get to know your characters, the more you know them, the easier it becomes to figure out how they should sound and how you should write them. Now then, granted, I don't have a slideshow right here to give you more concrete advice or to break this stuff down. That's something we can definitely do more of in the future. However, what I want you to do is I want you to work on having conversations between your characters and actually say them out loud. And again, if you need to, close yourself up in a room somewhere so that way you can do that without feeling too embarrassed, because it is going to feel a little bit embarrassing. But the more that you work at it, the more these characters will come alive to you. And if it sounds wrong to you in your ears, you're like, okay, that sounds wrong. Why does that sound wrong? And you can start workshopping. You can start brainstorming how you can fix that, so that way that character sounds the way that they need to in your story. So I hope that you take this little bit of advice to heart, and think about the words that your characters would use, how they would say them, and kinds of phrases that they really enjoy. Does your character say a whole bunch? That can be a little bit annoying, but it definitely works. It helps bring out their personality. Do they use like a whole lot? That can happen. That might convey a certain sense of ditziness, or it could even be used as a misdirect, where a character sounds really stupid but ends up being really smart. That's always a whole lot of fun. How intelligent does your character try to sound? Do they try to use big words? I really enjoyed writing one character who uses all these big words and uses them wrong. That was a ton of fun to do, because he's trying to pass himself off as smart, and he obviously isn't. And that was really fun. So the more that you get to know these characters, who they are, and how they might speak, that helps to bring the dialogue to life. Again, it's not going to instantly solve anything or solve everything. That's not the way it works. But rather, it makes it easier to get into the dialogue and to write the way that you want, and start figuring out even better how these characters are going to interact and how the story is going to come to life through their dialogue. Because dialogue is essential to helping us to get to know these characters, get to know their relationships, and that's important because a story lives or dies by its characters. And so dialogue, unfortunately, is very important, but it can be done. You can do it. All right, so start wrapping up things right here. Fabio says, haven't thought of the dynamic between these two ever before in Eureka. I've always had this side character inside the game universe whose thing is being interested in bugs, glitches, even looking glitchy, while also being a friend of Fabio's, one of the god adjacents. Here, if this is a game and this do glitches, developer game tester dynamic. Man, I've had moments of, wait, that one was wrong. TV account, I should probably look up a book on method acting. Sure, that can be a whole lot of fun. Method acting is very intense. But doing acting is a ton of fun. And I say that as someone who did do acting for a little while. Fabio, so yeah, still a friend dynamic, but now I have that aspect of it. I somehow never thought of it. Mimic, and sometimes the side character ends up becoming a huge fan favorite and they become incredibly popular. Yes, that's absolutely true. Like the Lopin from the Stormlight Archive. That character is way too popular. But hey, the Lopin is a fun character. I will still argue that Lopin is not the best character. There's certain things about Lopin that really begin to grind on me after a while, but especially in the first two books of the Stormlight Archive, Lopin is like a godsend when he arrives on the scene. He is such a necessary character in those two books, and really funny. All right. So with all that being said, I feel my voice going. I did not expect that we would go for nearly 3 hours, but here we are. So we've had some fun talking about things that we're thankful for, education, indie animation, loads of the Amazing Digital Circus. And I'm really looking forward to that newest episode. That will be coming out in 2 weeks. Woo! I definitely need to make sure I get started on that video. That'll be a retrospective for how businessly well episode 3 is done. And so you can look forward to that here real soon. Mimic, yep, as a theater kid, I can attest to that. Acting is so much fun. It absolutely is. I love doing it. So, hope you guys are buckled in for all of the fun that will be with the Amazing Digital Circus. And if you haven't already checked out Dungeon Flippers, please do. It's an incredible show, and I'm really glad it'll be getting its second episode. If you haven't watched The Art of Murder, definitely do that because it's also really great, and I hope to try to get a video out about that sometime in the near future. I can't promise when that will happen, but I do want to do one because it just looks so much fun. And with all that being said, guys, I hope you take care. Have a great day. Ooh, one last thing. I can't believe I nearly forgot this. So for the next live stream will be just like with last year for a handful of you who were there for that, a Sankt Nikolaustag celebration. So it'll be a German Christmas celebration. You don't need to celebrate Christmas to join in on the festivities. This will be a fun little encounter where I'll share with you guys some of my heritage and traditions, and as well tie that into some festive writing, and just give you guys hopefully some neat experiences. So we'll keep an eye, please, on the community posts for this upcoming week, because I will leave for you guys some instructions, if you so wish to obey them, that will hopefully make the Sankt Nikolaus Tag celebration a little bit more cozy and fun. And I'm going to look into also seeing if I can set up in a way that won't get me flagged, a go through of the Christkindlmarkt of Nuremberg, and introduce you guys to one of the coolest places that I have ever gotten the chance to go to. It is really, really neat. And so if I can do that, like, I'll definitely try to introduce you guys to that. So that way, if any of you ever have the chance to go to Germany in the wintertime, at least in December, then you then know to head on over to Nuremberg, because the Christkindlmarkt there is it is something else. It is such a cool experience. So I'll see if I can set that up for us for the next live stream, and we'll just have a good time. And so with that all being said, we'll now begin signing off. Mig says, so Hannah says, have a good night, day, wherever you're at. That will be cool. Five says, I see. Mig, thank you for this wonderful, awesome stream today, Mr. Lars. It was so much fun, and I learned a lot today. Have a lovely night and stay safe, and have a great Thanksgiving weekend. I hope all of you have a fantastic weekend as well. And thank you so much for spending part of it with me here. Also, Five says, also, I don't think I've really thought of going for festive writing. Hey, festive writing can be a ton of fun. Well, let me tell you. Meg says, have a wonderful day, night, everyone. Stay safe, y'all. I will be seeing you. I so see you next time. Everyone, thank you so much for being here. I hope to see you next time. And until the next video, y'all, tschüss.